C406. Approximately 80% of the humans living in AGO-1 are homeless. There are two options given to them. You can either sneak into an unmanaged facility or live on the street. In that respect, Jeff can be said to be quite lucky. This is because he owns a house thanks to subsidies from Daily Mars and credit obtained through drug dealing here. His home is in an apartment located on the outskirts of the old commercial city of AG-01. From the safety of his home, Jeff was verifying information he had obtained using drug dealers. In a dreary room without any decoration, a small hologram player was simultaneously outputting records such as photos and videos. Jeff carefully examined the hologram material. It's a pandering between Shinoni and separatists. In the holographic video, neatly dressed men and those wearing shabby clothes and carrying weapons were shaking hands. Among them, the neatly dressed men are members of the Shinoni cartel. Until now, the biggest ally of the separatist forces was the Star Union. Megacorp-hating thugs secretly provided weapons to the separatists. Without that, it would have been cleared out long ago by the T&C fleet remaining in the system. I expected to find new reinforcements, but it's the Shino group. Recently, Megacorp and Star Union are going through the process of peace negotiations with each other. Naturally, the amount of weapons sent by cyborgs is decreasing. Because of that, the separatist forces were being pushed back, but now it looks like they have found a new partner. If it were any other pirate, I would have just overlooked it. The story is different when it comes to the Shinoni cartel, a member of the Shino group. As far as Jeff knows, Sino group has been active for less than a year. In that short time, they have grown into a huge cartel, competing for first and second place among the space dog cartels. However, little information is known about their identities. The details of who organized the group and where its headquarters are all kept under wraps. Even members of the organization only knew about the cartel they belonged to and rarely knew about the group as a whole. However, everyone who was interested in pirates assumed that the Shino group must have received support from someone. But here Jeff reveals that the Shino group is related to the separatist forces of XER-11. The name Jeff will forever remain in the Megacorp press. It's a fun thing to think about, but there's no need to get excited already. Jeff looked away from the hologram and looked at the window. The sound of cascading rain hitting the thick window soothed his mood. The problem is, what did those terrorists give as bait? He thought while listening to the sound of rain. To write an article, the causal relationship must be clear. If you just throw things around like common idiot reporters, you will end up being treated like trash. What did the separatist forces promise the Shinoni cartel? There must be an answer to this question. The only thing the separatist forces can give is people. The easiest thing to obtain in AGO-1 is none other than humans. Because wherever you go, there are people everywhere. However, there are many better places to kidnap people. Things like the Wolf Native Village in the Cult Territory, the Megacorp Colony, etc. There is no reason to come here. If you're not human. He manipulated the terminal and flipped through the video. The next thing that came out was a photo. The photo showed a large shadow reflected on the hazy fog. This photo was taken by a vagabond living in a sewage treatment plant. It might have something to do with this creature. Jeff received this photo from a druggie informant yesterday. When I first received it, the photo was in really bad condition, but thanks to using several editing programs, I was able to get the current result. He frowned as he looked at the photo. No matter how you look at it, it's not Galagon. Jeff has never seen the real Galagon. Instead, I saw several eyewitness accounts of Galagon. So we know roughly what the creature looks like. The Master of Shadows looked nothing like Galagon. And this is the head, right? Jeff used a terminal link to the hologram to enlarge a part of the photo. A long three-pronged shadow protrudes above what is assumed to be a wing. If that is a head, it means that the owner of that shadow has a total of 3 heads. No matter how you look at it, it is far from a normal creature. 3 heads, unless you're a Hulk mutant. No, for a moment. At that moment, Jeff felt the puzzle that had been scattered around his head coming together. Originally, this place was intended to produce the Hulk mutant. JER-11 is known only as a human resource production area in the world. However, Jeff knows about the secret of this place. Originally, all 3 colonies on JER-11, including AG-01, were biological weapons testing sites. It was a place prepared by TNC to develop the Hulk mutant without the Eugene family's knowledge. However, the secret project was cancelled midway due to a sudden separatist movement. Thanks to bribing a soldier from the security team, Jeff was able to access the data left behind by researchers at the end of the project. The researchers took only the important experimental data and left the test subjects and samples behind. The security team is managing it, but the situation there is not good either. Because they do not receive proper support from TNC, they are using pirates as mercenaries. It is not at all strange that the managed Hulk mutant experiment secretly escaped. It's clear that the separatists brought in the Sinoni cartel in exchange for the Hulk mutant. Maybe it's even possible that the two forces are planning to link up and attack the laboratory where the samples are stored. TNC's defense force is guarding the lab, but with the power of the Shino group, it won't be difficult to break through. After occupying the lab, the Sinoni cartel can take the Hulk mutant test subjects, and the separatists can take the genetic samples. I guess I'll have to meet the guy who took the picture. Jeff manipulated the terminal and sent a message to the drug dealer who had obtained the photo from the bum. I was planning to meet in person the tramp I had photographed through him. I sent you a message telling you to come out and give you drugs, so you will receive a reply right away. When I met him during the day yesterday, I only gave him one pill, so he must be anxious by now. After making contact, he looked out the window. Steam generated by the non-stop rain was enveloping the entire apartment. Now it won't be long before we see this scene. Of course, I am not disappointed at all. With that thought in mind, he looked down at the terminal again. What? The reply from the guy who was definitely supposed to come. Still hasn't come. Did you get the medicine somewhere else? Why did not you answer? After that, I waited for about 30 more minutes, but there was no reply. You damn bastard. I'm just about to put the last piece of the puzzle together, but I never thought the bully would be so uncooperative. Jeff was annoyed. He let out a small curse and started to get dressed. Since the drug dealer didn't contact me, I had no choice but to go to the sewage treatment plant and check. He took the terminal and laser pistol and left the house. When he left the apartment, a terrible raindrop greeted him. Jeff put on his hood and walked out onto the flooded street. The sound of raindrops hitting the hood and the sound of water every time I took my steps stimulated my hearing. It was a sound he always heard every time he walked down the street, but Jeff felt a vague sense of discomfort. Soon he realized the identity of the discomfort. Why is there no one? The streets, which were always full of people, were empty. It wasn't just quiet. There were no people in sight at all. It seemed like there was no one even in the store. This is because the lights were on and there was no sign of popularity at all. Quote ellipsis dot quote. This is the first time I have seen something like this in 2 years of living. Jeff pulled out the pistol from his waist. Then, feeling very nervous, I entered a nearby store. A song that is long out of fashion is playing through the speakers. There are only traces of people, and no actual guests or owners are visible. What is this? Jeff was horrified to see a suspicious black liquid on the floor of the store. At first I thought it was sewage that had flowed back, but it wasn't. Rather than water, it had a texture closer to tar that would come from a factory or something. Not only did it look good, but it also smelled really bad. Every time I took a breath, it felt like there were pieces of glass stuck in my nose and throat. When he realized that the liquid covering the store was dangerous, he quickly ran out. What the hell is going on? It is not normal for other stores on the street to be in this situation as well. This is a problem that can only be solved by the large cartels or TNC that dominate the streets. The moment he came out with that thought in mind, Jeff froze. A street where there was no one before entering. In a place that looked hazy due to steam, hundreds of black figures suddenly appeared. They looked as if they had risen from the ground and stood motionless in the rain that spread like a curtain. Jeff, overwhelmed by the strange atmosphere, could not lift a finger. Black figures approach him who cannot move. Strangely enough, there was no sound at all while I was treading water. And even though he couldn't see clearly because of the steam, Jeff could feel that they were watching him. The gazes sent by the unknown beings were extremely ominous and creepy. Fuck it. Jeff barely came to his senses and fired his laser pistol at something that was creeping closer. A red bullet left the muzzle and hit a black seal. There was a sound of a leather bag filled with water bursting, and the black figure's head exploded. A normal human being would have just collapsed, but the reaction of something was completely different. Things like worms protruded from the torn neck area and lumped together into a head-like shape. The beings lurking in the white vapor were not human. We have to run away. When he realized that fact, he forced his loose legs and started to run away. Jeff runs to his house with all his might. There was no sound of footsteps following. But he kept running. Because I felt his cold, sticky gaze on the back of my neck. They didn't give up. He ran all the way to the apartment and immediately ran up to the house. As he walked up the stairs, out of breath, a familiar smell passed his nose. It was the foul smell I had smelled in the store earlier. He climbed up, almost crawling on all fours, entered the house and immediately closed the door. As soon as I locked the lock, there was a strong impact on the door. The door shook as if 2 or 3 adult men had struck at the same time. After the door shook loudly a few times, silence came. Even if the knocking on the door stops, you can't feel relieved. I couldn't see it or hear it, but I could feel it. That something is waiting behind that door. I need help too. Right now. Finally, Jeff took out the terminal. It was to call the person who had purchased it in advance. I can't die here. I rotted here for 2 years for credit and fame. If he dies here, all the work he has done so far will end in nothing but trouble. But this time, his intentions were not fulfilled. I tried to activate the communication function of the terminal, but the machine was completely unresponsive. Why is this again? Just as he was about to shout that he was not listening, Jeff felt a shock. It wasn't the shock that made the door ring like it did just now. What he felt was a slight vibration coming from his toes. Quote. Now I felt the vibration again. This time, the sound was deeper than before. Jeff slowly turned his head. I see a window full of water droplets. The vibration rings again. The collected drops are falling down. The scenery seen between the water marks was no different from before I left the house. Except for one thing. A black shadow was cast on the white curtain created by rain and steam. A black figure wriggled with vibrations that shook the room, or rather the entire apartment. The moment he encountered it, Jeff realized why the tramp called him a dragon. He did not call it that with the intention of referring to any creature or specific being. What he wanted to talk about was the incomprehensible existence. That being outside was neither Galagon nor the Hulk mutant. Jeff, who saw the dragon hand approaching, covered his eyes with both hands. Watch next episode. C407. Intelligent groups in space survival have a common system called conflict. As the size of the faction a player belongs to grows, the probability of conflict occurring on planets and star systems occupied by the faction increases. Then, at some point, a conflict event suitable for each race occurs. Representative examples include the colonial independence movement in the case of Megacorp, the slave revolt in the case of the Cult Empire, and the uprising of clones in the Star Union. In addition, similar events exist for Wolf and Space Dog. Although the names and contents of each are different, once a dispute arises, it must be stabilized. Otherwise, the conflict will intensify into a rebellion and ultimately become independent as an NPC force. This is my first time in the XER-11 system, but I have visited other conflict zones several times. I know how to infiltrate. However, this time we need to move more cautiously than other times. This is because the battle with the Rankers has just ended. It's obvious that they're still wary of me, but if I'm discovered before I can find traces of arcane Orca, it'll be quite a headache. Because the colony could be destroyed by the Rankers, attack. AG-01 is the target chosen after taking all these factors into consideration. First of all, this place is the closest to the star among the colonies in the star system. If arcane Orca was truly active in ZER-11, there is a high probability that its records remain here. And AG-01 is the place with the most conflict in the system. The rulers of ZER-11 are busy dealing with pirates and separatist forces. Even if I secretly open a nest, they won't notice at all. In any case, it was not difficult to infiltrate a planet with a weak surveillance network. In addition, the fact that the terraforming machine was broken was an unexpected good news. It wouldn't be easy to find myself hiding from the incessant rain and storm. After infiltrating safely, the first place I set foot was a city's sewage treatment facility. Although it was a facility that played an important role in residential areas, it was neglected. There were no managers or security guards, and it was overrun with homeless vagabonds and drug addicts. Various pollutants, large amounts of moisture, and numerous organisms that serve as nutrients. It's a very suitable environment for nesting. After sending PS-111, which came down together, to another location, they immediately planted a nest on top of the sewage treatment facility. The black mucus produced in my body grew into a huge nest by sucking in the contaminated water. And for the first time in real life, I was able to taste the power of the hiveformer. Unlike other traits, nest-related traits are not easy to use unless the conditions are met. Because without a nest, it is useless. Instead, this nest series becomes stronger if there is a nest. The hiveformer is a trait that demonstrates this characteristic very well. When you acquire the hiveformer trait, a swarm of worms will be created in the nest at regular intervals. Hiveformers, which are dull black in color, are responsible for intercepting prey that enters the nest or breaking down the corpses and converting them into an energy source for the nest. As the name suggests, it can be said to be a creature that grows and manages its nest. The hiveformer created by Outspacer, the original owner of the trait, has considerable combat power, but this is not the case with Imorph. Hiveformers born in a morph's nest are as weak as Megacorp's corpse catfish. However, their true value is revealed when a large number of them gather together and steal the enemy's skin. I looked down at the numerous bums standing near my feet. At first glance, they seem like humans as they stand motionless on the black slime. However, if you look closer, you can see something thin wriggling under the thin skin. Their true identity is not vagabonds, but a colony of worms covered in human skin. The hiveformer enters the enemy's body and eats the flesh first. Then, when only the skin remains, it covers it up and disguises itself as the creature. Although it looks similar to a parasite, it is actually very different. This is because you are not controlling a living creature, but are merely moving around while wearing the skin of a corpse. Since the body and skin are moved like a puppet, unique abilities or characteristics cannot be used. That doesn't mean it's bad at all. Unlike parasites, which are limited to the creatures they can inhabit, hiveformers are not limited to the hides they can use as hiding places. Any creature can do this as long as there is a hole for them to fit in and meat to gnaw on. Even apex creatures. And I lowered my body and lowered my head toward the floor. Black slime can be seen continuously absorbing rainwater. The moment an auxiliary organ was placed there, the scope of consciousness expanded widely in an instant. And with that, my vision split into 1,000 pieces. It felt like I was looking at multiple monitors stacked on a wall. By linking with the nest, you can now share the hiveformer's field of vision. I maintained that state and focused my attention on the guys. Then one of the tramps at his feet moved forward slowly. It crawled like a snail and tightly held on to the human I had captured. I didn't know you could control it like this. In the game, only very basic commands could be given. All they had to do was increase the number or gather at a specific point. It was unimaginable to be asked to hold on to someone like this now. There is a disadvantage that commands can only be given by linking to a nest, but that is not a big problem as it was always the same. Thanks to you, the number of ways I can use it has increased. For example, the vagabonds here, the original plan was to keep only a few and use the rest as nesting material. Because the shell of a human being, or even a drug addict, is not very suitable for combat. However, since it is possible to give detailed instructions to the hiveformer, there is no need to use it only as a consumable. Using people disguised as vagabonds would help us find people who handle information. Having built a nest in a sewage treatment facility, I spread black slime into the sewer pipes connected to the facility. At the same time, hiveformers were sent up to a nearby city. While the black slime engulfed the city, the hiveformers picked out useful humans. The human captured by the hiveformer is also a result of the search. If you see him holding a laser pistol, he is most likely a member of the city defense force or a pirate. He's a human worth opening his head to. I lifted my head and disconnected from the nest. The tramp, whose stomach was filled with worms, continued to hold on to the human. As he stretched out his fighting arms, the hiveformer immediately released his restraints. After completing its mission, it moved to take care of the nest like any other hiveformer. I picked up the guy who broke the apartment and took it out. He. The guy had been smiling ever since. When I saw my eyes opened, I felt like I had completely lost my mind. I didn't do anything in particular. Other than knocking down the wall of the apartment to get him out, he didn't pose any threat. I just didn't know that I was going to lose my mind over this. Well, it doesn't really matter. I put the man down and called my little friend who came here with me. When the head on the left opened its mouth, a monster resembling a woman's head with metal legs crawled out. This is MPS-03, a mini screamer that I made together with PS-111. I usually took Model 5 with me, which was designed for communication and hacking, but not this time. MPS-05 is not here because Heavenly Mother took it with her. Please check again this time. Wonderment. Check. After hearing my request, the guy raised his metal leg and took a saluting stance. The left head bent its neck down to help the guy go down easily. MPS-03 crossed over to the man, diligently using several metal bridges. Machine parts. Check. Hee. The guy on the man's shoulder stretched out his metal legs. A dish antenna protruded from the end of the leg and began scanning the man's face. I'd be in trouble if I heard something in my head like last time. Before coming here, I asked PS-111 to give the mini screamers the ability to detect electronic devices. This is to prepare for cases where rankers plant traps on the bodies of their subordinates. Because it would take a long time to modify them all, detection functions were added only to models 3 and 5. That part that looks like an antenna from the leg of MPS-03 is the result. While he was checking, I turned my head and looked at the apartment where one of the walls had collapsed. Inside, black mucus can be seen flowing back up. The hive formers moved along the slime and collected things that could be used as nutrients. While looking inside the building, the room where the humans lived that I had taken out caught my eye. An unexpected object was placed next to the collapsed rubble. I used the small arms near my chest to clear away debris and pick up items. It's a portable hologram playback device. It's a fairly expensive piece of equipment, but I never thought I'd see it in a place like this. Wonderment. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. At that time, the inspection of MPS-03 was also completed. I transplanted parasites into a man. After swallowing an eel-like parasite, he trembled for a moment and then calmed down. I was holding something interesting. Yes. Explain who you are and what you did. Yes. My name is. Even if you are insane, you cannot refuse the parasite's orders. The man who introduced his name as Jeff slowly answered my question. And as the story progressed, I couldn't help but be surprised. This is where the Hulk mutant was developed. Yes. The noble capital T and C family was secretly trying to develop the Hulk mutant. Colonies belonging to the JER-11 system have test sites built by T and C. Jeff's occupation was a journalist. He is also a reporter with enough reputation to work at the request of Prime Capital's Zhao family. Is that why? He knew more information than he thought. Then is there a laboratory on this planet that stores genetic samples? Yes. T and C's security team is guarding the genetic samples and Hulk mutant specimens. What is important is that a large number of genetic samples and test subjects remain here. It seems like it could be useful. Thank you. I quenched my appetite as I watched Jeff bow his head. I need to see if I can secretly take those samples. Watch next episode. C408. When the hell is this rain going to stop? A research complex attached to a commercial city. The security team members responsible for the security there were looking out the window from inside the high guard tower. These T and fucks, they have so much credit, they don't even fix the terraforming machine. Noisy. You bastard. No, isn't it? It's already been 4 years since I've been here, and there's not a fucking day when it doesn't rain. Fucking T and C bastards. Is this guy drunk? Drink in moderation. The teammate who was swearing took off the hip flask from his waist and put it in his mouth. Every time his neck moved, the strong smell of alcohol wafted through the air. I like it when drug addicts take advantage of it. Why? Will you give it to me too? Go away. You weakling. The security team member looked at his colleague with a pitiful expression as he drank cheap synthetic alcohol mixed with drugs. He clicked his tongue and took out a metal bar from his pocket. You crazy guy, you don't even need guidance or medicine. Hey, what you're drinking is a drug that makes even your mom sell it, but it's cigarettes. Cigarettes that are officially verified and sold. What is verification? Both drugs are the same. Both are soldiers, but one drinks alcohol while on duty, and the other smokes a drug-laced electronic cigarette. It was a common sight seen at the security tower of the research complex. You know what? Those pirates who came in recently brought a lot of wolf slaves. Wolf. Fuck. What's so good about hairy, smelly bitches? Hey, once you taste those thighs and waist, you can't forget them. Just thinking about it makes me sick. Cyborg bitches are better. They still look like people. Crazy. What good are those smelly oil cans? What does he not know? Separate the top and bottom, front and back. The security guard, who was drunk on the drug contained in a cigarette and spouting obscenities, suddenly stopped talking. People stopped talking. What happened back and forth? Quote. He took the cigarette out of his mouth and walked closer to the window. And I shined a flashlight outside the window. All that was visible in the space illuminated by white light was rainwater and darkness that spread like a curtain. What's the matter? I think I just saw a big shadow. The research complex is surrounded by open fields with no buildings around. If you are on top of the guard tower, you can clearly see with the naked eye who is coming in here. There are minefields everywhere. Did you see it wrong? Is it? The moment he took another cigarette, light flashed outside the window. This was followed by an intense roar. Is it true? Huh, who is there? Really? What? The security guard who was drinking pointed to the window covered in raindrops. A flash of light flashes again just in time. The darkness cleared for an instant due to the lightning that struck the field. It was a brief moment, but the two saw it clearly. The image of hundreds, if not thousands, of humans standing on a field. Holy shit, none of the landmines exploded, right? Doesn't exist. The fields surrounding the research complex are littered with mines and combat drones. Inside the complex, anti-ship anti-aircraft guns are placed throughout the complex to prevent enemies from invading through the air. Only the soldiers guarding the research complex know the safe route. Is it outside the boundary? Fuck, it's dark so I can't see anything. Even if I put my face close to the window, it was so dark that I couldn't see clearly. The two quickly put on the helmets they had taken off. When the heat-sensing camera attached to the helmet activated, things that had been hidden by rain and shadows began to appear clearly. They were surprised when they checked the field through the camera. What? Where has everyone gone? It was definitely there. When the camera turned on, the thousands of people who had been standing on the field motionless were gone. Where they were, only black water that looked like a shadow remained. The time when the security team members at the research complex security tower were embarrassed by an unfamiliar visitor. In the security team leader's room inside the complex, a secret transaction was in full swing. Do you want me to disable the lab's security system? Empty alcohol bottles and trash rolling around on the floor, weapons and armored suits that had been left unattended for a long time and accumulated a lot of dust, and even luxurious mahogany desks and furniture that didn't match. In an ironic space where clutter and luxury coexist, a middle-aged man was talking on the phone with his feet up on the desk. Yes. Oh, I'm not saying I'm rejecting it or anything like that. There are a few things to consider. The man's name is Alex. He is the head of the security team, one of the pillars that protects the research complex. I don't have jurisdiction over everything at the research institute. Because permissions are limited. Yes. As you said, we need some time. After TNC ceased interest in the conflict zone, most of the soldiers in AGO-1 became corrupted. The main focus was on drugs, and there were many cases of secretly selling the remaining equipment on the planet to enrich one's own pockets. In reality, they had become no different from pirates, and this was especially severe for Alex, the head of the security team. This is because they trafficked high-value materials such as genetic samples and confidential information left behind by TNC managers. This was possible because, thanks to his position as a team leader, he could freely enter and leave the closed laboratory. Even now, he is trying to sell important information at his workplace. And after that, my position will be in trouble again. I'm glad you understand. Haha. Then, I will send you the map and security code in advance. Ha. Sure. Yes. I'll see you in 2 days. Alex continued with a gentle smile until the end of the call. However, when he put down the communication device, the smile on his face was completely gone. Crazy guys. You want me to disable the security system. You're not afraid of pirate topics. He clicked his tongue as he looked at the turned-off communicator. The person who had just contacted him was an executive of the infamous Shino Group. He had contacted the security team leader to rob the research institute. He had committed illegal acts more than once, but handing over the entire research institute was a completely different story. No matter how indifferent TNC is to this place, it is unlikely that he will allow the research center to be destroyed. If they know that this base has been robbed, they will never let the pirates go. No matter how powerful the Shino Group is, it is noble capital, which wields absolute influence in the universe. If TNC begins his bloody revenge, the Shino Group will collapse in an instant. Well, it has nothing to do with me. Alex smiled and turned on the computer on his desk. The pirates offered huge credits to buy the lab's security information. The reward he received for handing over the map and security code of the research complex was more than what he had earned in his entire life. With that much credit, you can make a living for the rest of your life even if you immigrate to a cult empire. It worked out better. I can't just do this forever. It is an open secret that separatists carry out terrorist activities with support from Star Union. However, recently, there has been an atmosphere of reconciliation between Star Union and Megacorp. If a peace treaty is signed between the two powers, there is a high probability that JER-11 will be stabilized. Then I'm screwed. When TNC returns, all the security officers here will be reduced to employees. The security team leader who has a lot of hammocks will receive a much more terrible punishment. So, it is to his advantage to shake it off and run away now. The pirates will take care of the traces he left behind. However, if there was one thing that was lacking, it was networking. It's a bit unfortunate that my connection with Daily Mars is fading away. He recalled a famous reporter with whom he had a good relationship not long ago. We have been doing business for approximately 2 years as a customer who mainly purchased data left behind by T&C administrators. It's never a bad thing to become friends with reporters wherever you go. This is especially true if you are a reporter sponsored by Prime Capital. Alex knew that too, so he paid quite a bit of attention to his relationship with the other person. If he leaves here, that good relationship will disappear completely. Tisk. I can't help it. There was a lot of investment in the relationship with the reporter, but it would be difficult to maintain it any further than this. Alex gave up and decided to take care of what needed to be done right away. He activated the communicator and contacted his subordinate on the security team. Has safe route been updated? The update has already been completed and we are checking it before handing it over to the system management team. So you haven't sent it to the management team yet? Send it to me before you pass it on. I have something to review. All right. After a while, a file arrived from my subordinate. The security team leader, who confirmed this on the computer, immediately copied the safe route to his personal computer. Oh, and just what happened to my security code renewal? It is scheduled to be processed within today. Put it off a little longer. After 3 days. Yes. Then, you have to get approval from the management team. Changing the security code too frequently can be a security problem. So I think it would be a good idea to extend the renewal cycle. Open corner bracket. Well, still. Hey, what if terrorists attack while the security code is being updated? Are you going to take responsibility? Oh, no. I will update in 3 days. Alex instructed to postpone the security code renewal date and ended the communication. Good. Maps and codes have all been processed. The management team may find this strange, but don't worry. They are so corrupt that they bring women to work and have parties. I won't care at all whether the code changes or not. All that remains is to send the pirates the safe route map and security code needed to access the complex. Alex manipulated the computer and transferred the file. Then suddenly the light blinked. AG-01 has had bad weather for several years due to a broken terraforming machine. Occasionally, electricity supply becomes unstable due to strong storms. So I didn't think it was a big deal, but immediately the light started flashing again. The light, which had been blinking uneasily, soon went out completely. At the same time, the computer that was transferring files also stopped working. Wait, holy shit. The transmission was cut off at the last minute. Alex, who watched this with his own eyes, hit the desk hard with his fist. After a while, emergency power came on and the computer turned on again. I tried to transfer the file again, but this time there was a problem. However, the file was not sent because there was a problem with my communication network. I tried to contact my subordinate through a communicator, but it also failed. It's like this Nimural terraforming machine. I need to send it to the pirates quickly, but the communication status is like this. If he continues to delay sending it, they will find a route other than Alex. If that happens, the compensation he will receive will also be reduced. Are you going to let something like that happen? Alex got up and grabbed his weapon and computer. If you go to the management team, there will be a way to send the file to the outside world. Wearing a reinforced suit, he left the room. Watch next episode. C409. The sound of water colliding with metal resonates within the dark complex. Alex, who had just left the security team building, walked towards the management office where the system management team was staying. Damn it. How did you manage it so that the whole complex looks like this? There were emergency lights on inside the building, but not at all outside. Buildings and metal structures that would normally be brightly lit were all immersed in darkness. Why is there so much fog again? I have been working at the research complex for a long time, but this was the first time the fog was as thick as today. It was so thick that it was difficult to see anything even if it passed several meters in front. Buildings without light, endless rain, and thick fog. It seemed as if the entire complex had fallen into a huge swamp. The only source of light on the way here was the light from his reinforced suit. I can't even see these idiots. There are thousands of humans in this complex, including his subordinates. Alex turned on the heat-sensing camera built into his helmet and looked at the tall guard tower. People can be seen moving inside. They swayed violently as if they were dancing, but then stopped. You idiots. How many drugs did it take to have a reaction like that even though the entire tower was immersed in darkness? He clicked his tongue as he looked at the guard tower, then moved again. Every time I took a step, the heavy mechanical sound and the sound of water splashing on the floor tickled my ears. The reinforced clothing he is currently wearing is a high-grade reinforced clothing provided to team leader level personnel. Thanks to its high-performance detection function, it can sensitively detect surrounding sounds and movements. Thanks to you, I was able to find out that he was the only one walking down the street in the rain. Of course, that didn't mean there were no people at all. Thanks to heat-sensing cameras, people could be seen moving around inside the building. Even now, the people at the windows of the building are clearly visible. Some ran wild like the guards in the guard tower, while others just stood still. I tried to ignore it like I did before, but suddenly a strange thought occurred to me. A person standing motionless in a place where there is no light, as well as a person twisting his or her body as if dancing in the dark. It was too strange to dismiss it as simply a reaction to drug addiction. And it's hard to explain in words, but I felt an inexplicable eerie feeling every time I saw them. It wasn't the feeling I got when I saw my colleagues or subordinates. It only looked like a human, but it seemed like there was something completely different inside. It must be an illusion. It is true that the soldiers at the research complex are corrupt, but that does not mean that the security system is a mess. There are numerous mines and combat drones around the complex, and there are many powerful anti-aircraft artillery batteries inside the complex. Also inside the building are thousands of humans armed with reinforced suits. It is absolutely impossible for an outsider to infiltrate this place without encountering any resistance. Anxiety is just an illusion. After deciding like that, Alex moved again. I forcibly suppressed the rising anxiety. However, I couldn't help but walk faster without realizing it. Soon, I saw a rectangular building with no windows in the distance. That building is the management office that stores various data of the research complex. It is equipped with its own power supply system and communication network to prevent data damage caused by terrorism. Alex approached the door and entered the security code. Alex, a member of the security team. Approved. A short message came out from the terminal next to the door, and the thick alloy door opened. Open corner bracket few. Alex entered the management center and let out a short sigh. I don't know if it was my anxiety or the humid air, but the inside of the suit suddenly became unpleasantly damp. It would be nice to at least take off the helmet, but the job isn't over yet. Alex manipulated the terminal on his wrist to display the internal map. Open corner bracket beep. His location was circled on a holographic map. The place he needs to go is the information processing room located on the second floor. You can use the communication facilities there to transmit files to pirates. Good. Then let's go. Huh. The sound of sticky water that rings as soon as you step on the hallway. When I looked down, the floor was a sea of water. What is this? It wasn't rainwater because the liquid stuck to the surface of the suit and dripped down every time it moved. It seemed like sewage backed up after a power outage. Shit. It was fortunate that I couldn't smell anything thanks to the helmet. Alex cursed softly and walked towards the second floor. Is it here? When he arrived at the information processing room, he entered the security code and entered. Inside, there were larger computers wearing reinforced suits. Even though the lights were turned off, just like outside, the light from the computers made it possible to see everything inside. The computers all appeared to be working fine. Alex walked over to a random computer nearby and checked it. The communication network is normal. He pulled out a wire from the computer, connected it to the terminal in the armored suit, and transferred the data. It's okay. The amount of data being transmitted and the remaining time were displayed inside the visor. The transmission will be completed successfully in 1 minute. Sasasik. Just as I was trying to relax and feel at ease, I heard something coming from inside. Alex quickly got up. Who is there? The only answer that came back was a mechanical sound made by a computer. Open corner bracket I heard. Wrong. Sasasik. Open corner bracket exclamation mark close corner bracket. The second time I heard it, it became clear. That was not a sound made by a person. When I checked the holographic map, there was a new triangle mark that I had not seen before. There must be someone else in the information processing room. Open corner bracket ellipsis dot close corner bracket. Alex, very nervous, entered the machine forest. The closer I got to the triangle mark, the faster my heart beat. If you pass by the computer in front of you, you will see an unidentified intruder. He strengthened the hand holding the weapon. As soon as he crossed the last obstacle, he pointed his gun forward. But there was nothing there. What? The triangle on the map was pointing ahead of him. But when I looked around, all I could see were computers, wires, and small external terminals. For a moment, he was staring at the floor and was startled by a sudden thought. His head slowly rose towards the ceiling. Open corner bracket question mark exclamation mark close corner bracket. There, a woman's head was hanging upside down. The thing, with bright red eyes as if a blood vessel had burst, was glaring at him. When Alex was taken aback by the appearance of a completely unexpected being, it opened its mouth wide. Quote dash exclamation mark quote. Open corner bracket Alex flinched back due to the sudden pain he felt in his ear. I felt an intense pain in my ear, as if I had been stabbed by an awl. Something came out of my ear and ran down the back of my neck. Alex roughly took off his helmet. When I looked at the speaker part inside the helmet, it was completely black and covered in blood. Holy shit. Even though I was clearly swearing with my mouth, no sound was heard at all. It was clear that his hearing had been damaged. At that time, something the size of a human head passed by in front of me. As soon as I saw it, I immediately fired my Gauss rifle. Light flashed from the muzzle, the computers lined up fell, and electric lights sparkled. I will kill you. Losing his mind, he threw away his broken helmet and chased after the unidentified being. The triangle mark on the holographic map moved quickly. A woman's head can be seen moving among the broken machines, her hair flowing. It moves so quickly thanks to the multiple legs protruding from under its head. It wouldn't have been easy to track him if he was naked, but he was wearing advanced reinforced clothing. Alex used his enhanced physical abilities to destroy computers and follow the signal. Gotcha. Just before it escaped through the vent on the wall, a tungsten bullet fired from a Gauss rifle hit its leg. The main body disappeared into the vent, dropping the broken leg fragments. Unfortunately, I missed, but I just had to chase it anyway. Thanks to the building map, I can clearly see where that vent leads. I wonder if I'll miss it. Alex returned to the entrance of the information processing room to go to the room connected to the vent. The moment he opened the closed door, he couldn't help but believe his eyes. What is this? There was a thick fog in the hallway I had passed just a few minutes ago. It was the fog I saw outside. And something stirred beyond the thick fog. Helmet. His instincts cry out. That fog. No, that gas is very dangerous. Alex quickly found his helmet to avoid the gas. Manager. A familiar voice suddenly sounded. Alex was surprised when he saw those who appeared with him. You are here. Manager. I've been looking for it for a while. The identity of the owner who made the voice was a subordinate who was supposed to be in the guard tower. Armed with reinforced suits, they are calling for Alex. It was just as Alex remembered. He was holding a Gauss rifle ready to fire, but he carefully lowered the gun. It's dangerous here. We need to get out of here quickly. The subordinates standing in the fog and urging. Alex also let his guard down and followed them out of the information processing room. The situation is not good because of separatist terrorism. They even dragged the Shino group into it. The others are taking their time, but I don't think they can last much longer. This way. As I followed my men down, something strange occurred. Clearly, the location of the information processing room was on the second floor of the management office. It only takes a few minutes to get out of the management center. But now they just kept going down the stairs. The subordinates seemed not to have noticed this incident and continued their conversation naturally. Filled square, filled square, filled square, filled square. I tried to call my subordinate to stop, but my voice didn't come out. No, to be exact, the voice came out of my mouth but I couldn't hear it. The hearing that was damaged because of that earlier did not come back. Why are you doing that? I don't have time for this. We have to go quickly. Quote ellipsis dot quote. Come to think of it, both he and his subordinates are wearing reinforced clothing. On the way here, I listened to the heavy sounds of machinery and footsteps. There are 3 beings wearing reinforced suits here right now, so it can't be this quiet. Filled square, filled square, filled square, filled square, filled square. What are you guys? The subordinates who were ahead of Alex's question stopped. I don't have time for this. We have to go quickly. Their heads turn slowly. You can see faces with their eyes obscured by the visor attached to the helmet. There is no time. Polly, re, go, ya, hap, ni, da. The familiar faces of his subordinates crack. Like glass about to break, cracks spread across my face and body. You can see something black boiling and shaking through the gap. You re wa ham ke ha ra. You re wa ham ke ha ra. The guides of hell hiding inside the shell attacked Alex. Danger. Removed. MPS-03, hearing the screams coming from downstairs, crawled out of the vent. As soon as it came out, it checked the broken leg. Damage. Minor. Temporary restoration. Possible. PS-111 and Imorph were given 2 abilities when producing MPS-03. One is a sonic attack ability created by applying the genes of Cave Goyle, which mainly lives in ice caves and underground. This ability, which Amoff called a destructive sound wave, can easily damage the hearing of even heavily armored enemies. The remaining ability is heat release. MPS-03 picked up the broken piece of leg with its thin, long legs reminiscent of a spider's legs. When I put it on the broken part and held it still, the part started to turn red. Restoration. Complete. Complete. The mini screamer shook its legs, which were joined together using high heat, a few times. It's not perfect, but there was no problem moving around. Work. Check. Check. MPS-03's mission was to transfer some of the data stored here to the terminal received from Amav. The obstructionist who intervened along the way has been dealt with, so you must return to your mission. It crawled on its metal legs and started copying data again. After that, about 10 minutes passed. All data requested by Amav was copied. MPS-03 put the external terminal in its mouth and tried to go out. While crawling towards the door, it suddenly seemed to think of something else and stopped in front of a computer. Intruder. Computer. Use. I know that the other person entered here by entering a security code. This building is an important place that handles various types of information. You need to check what the other person has done. Usage history. Purpose. Confirmation. Check. Maybe this information will also be helpful to Amav. After checking all the computers used by the saboteur, MPS-03 left. Watch next episode. C410. Great job. A tiny screamer, MPS-03, has arrived. The guy who crawled up to the head spit out the terminal he was holding in his mouth. Mission complete. Complete. Are your legs okay? In response to my question, the guy moved his soldered leg and took a saluting stance. At first glance, it didn't seem like there was any particular problem with movement. PS-111 will be able to fix it later. I lightly stroked him with the back of my finger. It was jumping around on the nest as if number 26 and Oddeye were happy. Every time it ran, the black cysts on the floor burst and released cloudy gas. At first glance, it looks similar to the toxic vapor that automatically spreads over the nest, but its ingredients and effects are completely different. That's because those black cysts and gas are a phenomenon caused by characteristics. It's been a while since I acquired the ghost nest, but now I'm finally using it properly. The nest-related fusion trait, Ghost Nest, was previously obtained from Cult Star, version 02. I haven't had a chance to use it so far, so I just kept it. Well, it's not a good characteristic to use alone. The reason is because of the working mechanism of the ghost nest. When this trait is applied, black cysts are created in the nest like now. The white gas emitted by the cysts contains psychic power that promotes various abnormal phenomena. Once you inhale this, you experience all kinds of bizarre things. Hallucinations, auditory hallucinations, cognitive decline, sensory distortion, etc. come as a comprehensive gift. As time passes, it becomes difficult to distinguish what is reality and what is not. As the name suggests, it means being possessed by a ghost. That is why the soldier who attacked MPS-03 suddenly began acting strangely. The one that lost its helmet due to the destructive sound wave inhaled the gas flowing out of the nest. So even after seeing the hive former, it did not attack. He probably thought it was his colleague. The one poisoned by the gas followed him to the underground nest without knowing anything, and became the hiveformer's new hideout. There is good compatibility between the two characteristics. The hiveformer alone is not easy to deceive the enemy due to its unique appearance and movement. However, if there is a ghost nest, that weakness is offset. The characteristic of ghost nest is that it shows its true value when combined with other characteristics. The problem is that it has many shortcomings when used alone. For example, if the target entering the nest has resistance to psychic power or does not inhale the gas properly, the effect is very low. And psychic gas only has the effect of distorting the opponent's senses, but cannot cause physical damage. You can tell just by looking at the dead soldiers. It wandered around the nest like nothing happened before taking off its helmet. It was only after his helmet was damaged that he began to be affected. The man possessed by the ghost was eliminated not by gas but by the hiveformer's attack. In this way, a ghost nest can only function if there is a means to physically destroy the enemy. Now that I've obtained the hiveformer, I need to gather more nest-related characteristics. After becoming an adult, the nest was rarely used in battle. This is because in most cases, rather than attracting the enemy, they infiltrated the enemy camp and fought, or conversely, fought after being ambushed. There was no condition to utilize the nest. I used a lot of nests in the game. There was also a notoriety attached to it. Although it is not as famous as Moffic, it is a nickname that is occasionally thrown around by those who enter the nest. Well, that's enough. I finally had the opportunity to get a sample. I picked up the terminal brought by MPS-03. The list of samples stored in the complex and various other information about what is happening on this planet are contained in this terminal. Let me check. I lay down and connected the auxiliary organ to the nest. A hive former that had received my will slowly crawled over. He took the terminal and connected it to the hologram playback device in the nest. Being big is also a problem. It was difficult to operate a small computer or terminal with this body, so a hive former wearing a human shell was used. After a while, numerous letters appeared on the hologram device. It was a list of genetic samples and Hulk mutant specimens. Not only the names of the creatures, but also the planets where they were captured, the names of the people who captured them, and their storage conditions were all organized in detail. However, many of the samples and test subjects listed were checked in red. These were secretly stolen by the managers protecting AG-01. Of course, the number of samples remaining was not small. There was so much left that it was similar to the space fortress that had been robbed before. If you do this well, you will get a new unique characteristic. Currently, there are a total of 3 unique attribute synthesis formulas that I have unlocked. Among them, there are synthetic formulas that require garbage traits such as hunger or dwarfism. Open corner bracket. Transcendence. Ingredient list. Dwarfism, not acquired, hunger. Sensory degeneration, not acquired, slow life, not acquired, hermit orientation, not acquired. Dwarfism, slow life, and sensory deterioration won't be difficult to obtain. The reclusive orientation is difficult. Among the 4 characteristics, seclusion orientation, like hunger, can only be acquired from certain creatures. You need some luck to get it. Still, if there are this many samples, it's worth a try. I briefly skimmed through the long list and moved on. This was followed by records of stellar activity observed in AG-01. The majority were regular reports sent by terraforming machines that react sensitively to changes in the planet's environment, and observation records sent by ships traveling in and out of the star system were mixed in a bit. I'll have to leave this to PS-111. Report. While I was looking at the hologram, MPS-03 came running towards me. Variables occurred during mission performance. Variable. Need to be confirmed. Necessary. It manipulated terminals and holographic devices with its pointed metal legs. The stellar records were passed over and new data was displayed on the hologram. What was new was a large map. Looking at the structure, it was clear that it was a map of the research complex where MPS-03 had entered. Above each building on the map were codes that were a complex mixture of numbers and letters. Intruder. Computers, communications, and use. Listening to what he said, it seemed like communication data sent by the soldier who attacked MPS-03. The internal map is quite important information. Megacorp's research facilities usually have tight security. This place, where battles occur frequently, is filled with land mines and drones everywhere. In such a situation, would you send a map with such detailed information to the outside world? And that in a situation where communication and electricity were cut off. It must have been a corrupt soldier trying to sell off important information. The important thing here is the buyer of the map. The reason why you want a map containing all the information about the research complex is simple. He's probably trying to attack this complex. Of course, the value of a map cannot be compared to an ordinary genetic sample or test subject. And to steal it, you will have to take a considerable risk. It would be difficult to bribe a soldier with a decent amount of compensation. The opponent was strong enough to physically attack the complex and had enough wealth to bribe soldiers who knew confidential information. As far as I know, there is only one being with that level of power here. Separatist forces. I heard this from Jeff, who caught me in the commercial city. In AG-01, a terrorist separatist organization is colluding with pirates and is targeting genetic samples. You said the pirate cartel supporting them belongs to the Shino Group, right? The Shino Group, created by a union of several cartels, is a group of pirates believed to be led by Space Dog Ranker. I have also met cartels belonging to the Sino Group. Jeff said the name of the cartel that contacted the separatists was Sinoni. They are pirates belonging to the same group as the ones I encountered, only with different names. If the pirates were managed by a ranker, they would be able to take down the research center without difficulty. But it's strange. Is there any reason for the player to target here? AG-01 is not an attractive location for space dog players to aim for. If you're looking for genetic samples, there are many good places besides here. In my case, I came to AG-01 in search of traces of the arcane orca, not with the thought of genetic samples. Or maybe it was the arbitrary action of his subordinates. Jeff said the Sinoni cartel's main source of income is hunting dangerous creatures and smuggling rare creatures. In games, pirates hunting dangerous creatures often used Hulk mutants as combat assistants. It doesn't really make sense if the Sinoni cartel wants to acquire Hulk mutants for the same purpose. I guess I'll have to ask this directly to be sure. Are you really here to save the Hulk mutant, or is there some other purpose? To confirm this, we need to catch a member of the Sinoni cartel. It's hard to avoid fighting with them anyway. They secured a map of the lab. At best, the airstrikes will begin within 2 or 3 days. And the owner of the research center they are targeting is me. The humans guarding the complex have all been wiped out by hive formers, and the nest is devouring the tall buildings from the inside. Is that not all? PS-111, who is not here, is also working hard to conceal my presence. Do you think we'll let pirates take it? I issued an order to all hive formers in the research complex. Bring me genetic samples of the creatures I mentioned. I thought I should try using the nest, and it worked out well. In the game, many people visited my nest and praised it. The Sinoni cartel will feel the same way. Watch next episode. C411. A large warehouse located in a port. Many intelligent beings are moving around busily. Although the races were different, including humans, cyborgs, rock walkers, and insect men, they had one thing in common. Everyone is wearing reinforced clothing with camouflage paint. Armed with better equipment than the regular army protecting the planet, their true identity was surprisingly pirates. They are not ordinary pirates, but the Sinoni cartel, a notorious pirate group. On the second floor of the warehouse, Ventress, the vice leader of the Sinoni cartel, was looking down on the gang members. At that time, an executive approached him. Boss, the hacking team will be ready in 5 minutes. While watching the gang members through the window, he turned his head when he heard the executive's words. What is the arrangement? The assault team and support team have all been deployed. The separatist side is also ready. While reporting, the executive operated a mechanical device and created a hologram. A hologram of a large city model appeared in front of the two. Small circles were displayed on the outskirts of the city. The hologram is the result of realizing a research complex attached to a commercial city. Those circles are Ventress's subordinates. These were all prepared to attack the research complex. Good. Once the hacking is over, the separatists and the assault team go in together. The rest wait. All right. Assault team should not act as usual, but move accordingly while considering the situation. The location of the troops, the state of their armament, everything is according to plan. Ventress checked the hologram and nodded, satisfied. Oh, me and the assistant pastor. Is it really okay for us to do as we please? But at that time, the executive put a candle to the good mood. The boss told me to be quiet. You have to speak clearly. I told you to prepare first and wait to avoid any problems. Currently, the head of Sino Group is pursuing a plan. The details were secret, so Ventress found out thanks to hearing it from the boss. I said I needed to take control of a few planets for the plan to succeed. AG-01, a planet in the JAR-11 star system, is one of those targets. Ventress, mission is to take control of the planet before the Shino Group's core forces arrive. To do that, we need to get rid of the anxiety factors here in advance. And aren't you being careful to get caught as late as possible? Do you think I'm such a brat that I'm giving credit to the National Guard? Anyway, we have to get rid of those fucking terrorists. How great would it be if we could make each other feel weak like we do now? That is certainly true, but what is stimulating noble capital is. Anyway, I'm considering everything, so don't ask any more questions. Ventress was annoyed by her subordinates' continued pouting, but decided to hold back this time. He was quite capable among the executives, so it would have been a shame to throw him away like this. The executives also knew that it would be dangerous to point out any more information, so they kept quiet. At that time, the lights inside the warehouse suddenly blinked. The light of the hologram also dimmed for a moment and then returned to its original state. What? It looks like lightning struck. Did the kids you sent to fix the terraforming machine fall asleep after playing? Why is it still like this? Well, they say it's in worse condition than expected. I checked earlier and it seems it will take a few more days. Tisk, you idiots. Ventress clicked her tongue as the thunder continued to pound outside. What about communications? It's not like something gets cut off during the operation, right? Yes. It's been pre-maintained, so there's no problem. Just then, a message was displayed on the hologram saying that the hacking team's preparations were complete. Ready. You can rush in. Ah, that's good. Go ahead right away. All right. Assault team, enter. As soon as the command was given, the circles on the holographic city began to move. Dash. Black visitors enter the research complex filled with rain, mud, and fog. Wearing heavy reinforced clothing, they moved nimbly like hunting dogs stalking their prey. There was no shaking at all even when passing through a field filled with landmines and combat drones. After passing through the most dangerous area, they stopped behind a building. Open corner bracket. Did everyone come in okay? Open corner bracket. Yep. Open corner bracket. No problem. The leader of the assault team sent by Ventress quickly checked the subordinates who followed. The number of subordinates is 20. It was exactly the same as when it came in. The Sinoni cartel's main enemies are wild animals, but that doesn't mean they can't catch people. Everyone was familiar with this type of intrusion operation, as they had conducted it several times. This is Josh. We have entered the eastern sector. The separatists said they took over the watchtower first, so join us immediately. Understood. After completing communication with the warehouse headquarters, they ran to a nearby long building. Open corner bracket. I'll enter the code, so beware of the rest. Open corner bracket. Yep. The leader standing in front of the door entered the security code he received 2 days ago. The security at the main gate of the guard tower was lifted and the solid metal door was opened. 20 pirates quickly entered the tower. What? Why is the light off? The inside of the building was completely dark. Even the emergency lights didn't come on, even though there were people who came in before them. Josh, the leader of the pirates, immediately contacted headquarters. The power went out inside the guard tower. Is it true that they have taken over? I just received a call from there. They said they fired an EMP at the building. Yes. Why all of a sudden? We'll discuss that later. They say they are waiting upstairs, so go up and join them. Despite the sudden change, the executives at headquarters showed no signs of disturbance. This person didn't have this kind of personality to begin with. It was strange that the separatists used EMP, but the overly calm appearance of the executives was also strange. Open corner bracket. What should we do? Open corner bracket. Everyone moves with utmost caution. If you see anything, shoot it right away. I didn't even understand what the situation was, but I had no choice. Josh and the pirates began walking down the hallway, each carrying their own weapons. Even if the electricity to the building was cut off, the interior was clearly visible thanks to the helmet's heat-detecting vision function. They walked in line and soon reached the stairs. Be careful because you don't know what will come out. While Josh was talking to his subordinates, he realized something strange. There were a total of 20 people here, including him. But right now, there were only 14 people he could see. Hey, where did the kids behind you go? Yes. Huh. The pirates turned around and realized that their comrade had disappeared. We were definitely together just now. Me too. There is a single hallway between the building entrance and the stairs. The length of the hallway itself is not long. It is impossible to disappear without a sound in less than a few seconds. The pirates hastily manipulated the terminal and checked the detector. What is this? How did this happen? There were a total of 20 signals of gang members displayed on the detector. The problem is that 5 of them are on floors other than the first floor. The only way to go upstairs in this building is to use the stairs in front of them. Damn it. Get out of here right now. Yep. Because the situation was unusual, Josh abandoned the missing people. The pirates hurried back the way they came. But this time too, reality betrayed their expectations. A tree had grown in the hallway, which was empty when I entered. Withered branches touched the ceiling and walls, and in the middle, a bony body covered with withered bark could be seen. Open corner bracket ellipsis dot close corner bracket. The pirates said nothing. It was because I was overwhelmed by the absurd reality. Illusion. Or poison gas. How did they get through the helmet? Is it really psychic power? Josh also tried to analyze the situation, but it wasn't easy. Even if they were hallucinating, it was undoubtedly true that several gang members had moved to another floor in an instant. Open corner bracket oh, a colleague has disappeared again. And as if reading his thoughts, the 5 people in the back row disappeared again. This time too, there were no sounds or signs. It was as if the hallway had swallowed the pirates whole. We have to get out of here quickly. This is not the time to worry. It's just outside after passing that tree. Josh tried to keep his composure and gave orders. Cut down the tree. One of his subordinates slowly approached the tree. He activated the blade claw, mounted on his arm with trembling hands. The ultra-vibrating saw blade protruding from the back of the hand vibrates and makes a familiar noise. The owner of the saw blade slowly raised his arm. Now all that remains is to cut the branches, but the subordinate hesitates. Open corner bracket, did you hear? Open corner bracket, what just happened? Other gang members are also embarrassed. The pirate stopped cutting down the tree and put his face close to the branch. The sound is heard again. This time Josh heard clearly. Open corner bracket, sound of laughter. A little girl's laughter is heard from within the trees. It was a voice so refreshing that it reminded me of clear spring water. As soon as I heard how beautiful it was, I felt like my tension was completely relieved. Otherwise, he would have immediately noticed that the bare branch was pointing towards the back of the pirate's head. Open corner bracket, careful. Open corner bracket, yes. The moment Josh belatedly shouted, a tree branch pierced his subordinate's head. Dash. Open corner bracket, gasp, gasp, gasp. A pirate wearing a reinforced suit runs through a foggy street. His right arm was missing, and there was a deep wound on his back. Even though he was a cyborg with physical abilities stronger than those of humans, his injuries were very serious. Open corner bracket, gasp, gasp, gasp. While running frantically, he hid behind a nearby building. The mechanical eyes behind the cracked helmet moved constantly. Fuck, 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 fuck. As the cyborg pirate continued to look around to see who was coming, he recalled what had happened a while ago. The assault team he belonged to was headed to the genetic center in the southern sector, guided by an executive. Although we did not encounter any enemies while moving, no one thought it was anything strange. Because I saw people walking around inside the building. The problem arose in a park near the center. While passing through a park filled with abandoned, dead trees, they heard singing. The innocent humming of little girls echoed in the gloomy park. The pirates stopped running for a moment after hearing the music, and from then on, a terrible nightmare began. The trees that had been standing quietly moved and attacked the assault team. Damn it. I've never seen a tree that seduces with song. Additionally, the trees drank the blood of living creatures. Every time a dying branch stuck into the body of a fellow tree, the street tree seemed to come back to life. The shell came to life, and the singing voice became more and more beautiful. The cyborg pirate's companions tried to resist somehow, but ultimately failed. The evil tree monster wasn't the only enemy there. Spores that spray acidic liquid everywhere, bizarre plants that spread a strange smell that causes colleagues to harm themselves, giant flying insects with human faces, threadworms covered in human skin, etc. The beings I feared seeing in my dreams slaughtered the pirates. While his colleagues were being attacked, the cyborg pirate secretly escaped the scene. We have to get back to headquarters quickly. Joining another team is not a good idea. If those monsters exist in each area, they too will not be able to avoid annihilation. After resting for a while, he ran again. Because of the pain coming from the wound, the module embedded in the head continues to send out danger signals. I desperately wanted to rest right away, but if I stopped here, it would be over. He ran without stopping until he was out of the complex. Fortunately, despite the misfortune, there were no monsters in sight. Open corner bracket, phew. Joe, good. His eyes see a black field created by mud and cloud shadows. There are mines and combat drones scattered throughout the field. You can only get out of this place by following the same path you came in. The cyborg pirate crossed the field, careful not to deviate from the safe route. When I got about halfway, a light started flashing inside the visor of my helmet. It was a communication from headquarters. It seemed like it was only now that he was leaving the complex. Why are you contacting me now? I'm sorry. We were late because we were preparing a rescue boat. It's a lie. To his knowledge, the Sinoni cartel has never sent reinforcements to rescue its members. Shit. All of my colleagues who entered the southern section were hit. All of them were hit. Yes. Everyone died and I was the only one left. I understand. If you tell me the location, I will send a rescue boat there. Are you sure? The cyborg pirate hesitated and then recited the coordinates of his location. Open corner bracket, outskirts of the southern district. Open corner bracket, yes. Where is the rescue boat landing site? I'll go there. There's no need to do that. Okay. I asked back because I didn't know the English sentence, but the answer came from somewhere other than the communicator. With an eerie mechanical sound, the mines buried in the ground all jumped into the air. Thank you for your cooperation in the experiment. The flash of light from the forcibly activated mine surrounded him. Watch next episode. C412. The house I built after a long time was quite nice. Most of the pirates who entered the research complex were caught in the trap I had set and were destroyed. Except for a few who escaped, all of them became the new home of cute, hive formers. It was a bland ending for a cartel connected to a player. Well, I expected it to some extent. Actually, it's not that I don't understand. Who would dare imagine that everything surrounding them is a living organism? I linked to the nest and focused my senses on the damaged building while fighting the enemy. The black liquid covering the structure moved and replaced the broken parts. Soon all traces of the battle in the complex disappeared. Those buildings were created using the newly acquired Nest Series general trait, Biological Garden. With this trait, you can build structures in your nest as you imagine. The guard towers and research labs visited by pirates are all my creations. Actually, it only changes the shape and has no special effect. For example, even if you imitate a plasma battery, you cannot actually fire plasma bullets. Also, although it looks solid, its durability is the same as that of a regular nest. It breaks easily and is very weak to fire. Other characteristics are needed to compensate for this weakness, and I supplemented this with the characteristic, Fortification. Fortification is a fusion characteristic belonging to the Special Defense series and has the effect of making Imorph's slime cohere much more tightly. When possessing this trait, the durability of cocoons and nests created during growth increases significantly. If the two share the nest, it's easy to disguise it as a city. In the game, after wiping out a small city on a planet, it was decorated into a city like it is now. When observed from outside the planet, it appears to be a city, making it good for luring enemies. If only I could change the color, it would be perfect. Unfortunately, the color of the slime cannot be changed with any attribute. The color of the nest is always black. The climate here is terrible, so you don't have to worry about that. Wherever you go, it rains frequently and the floors are muddy. Because of the heavy dark clouds, it is very dark even during the day. Even the white building looks black, making it difficult to tell whether it is a nest or not. Additionally, the details of the structure were much better than when it was created in the game. Thanks to Amov's unique sense of style, he was able to decorate even the smallest details like a real building. Even as a player, it would be difficult to tell whether this is a nest or not. What would happen to the guests who came in without knowing anything? They were completely caught in the trap I made. There are two main characteristics prepared this time. These are Devil Tree and Clown Grass. I unlinked and opened my eyes. Bright red trees stand out throughout the nest located deep underground. Black threadworms are moving around diligently under a tree with bright red branches like a tree with autumn leaves. When you gain the Demon Tree trait, a carnivorous plant that looks like a haunted tree from a horror movie will spawn in your nest. Normally, it stands as a bare, old tree, but when a living creature approaches, it immediately changes. It stabs its enemies using sharp branches that extend here and there and drinks their blood. The eggplant contains bacteria that prevents blood from clotting, causing more blood to pour out once pricked. When the devil tree drinks blood, its bark hardens and its thorns become sharp. The more times it gets pricked by thorns, the stronger it becomes. Also, some of the energy secured by the trees is transferred to me through the nest. One of the ingredients of the devil tree is human sacrifice, and its effect is inherited. Next is clown tonkol. At the bottom of the nest are brightly colored whole plants. Nearby, fine particles from the whole grass float. By default, those particles cause extreme itchiness in those they touch. The itching doesn't stop until you tear off the affected area. The name Tonkol the clown is said to drive the victim crazy. Of course, since the particles must directly contact the flesh to be effective, it does not work on enemies who do not expose their bare bodies. It is equally powerless against enemies that cannot sense itchiness, such as androids. There is nothing to worry about, because the former problem can be solved with demon trees and hive formers. Anyway, the invaders were destroyed. The remaining enemy is the Sinoni cartel's command center, which sent its subordinates here. I had the hive former activate the communicator. How did you prepare? It's done. The communication networks of the planet's major cities are all under my management. Upon arriving at AGO-1, PS-111 set out alone to take control of the planet's communications network. Thanks to taking control of the satellite in the process, the entire communication network on this planet is currently under its control. Not only can communications within the planet be blocked, but communications sent outside the planet can also be restricted. It would be nice if I could just block it. The guy who received the disruption needle from me can directly intervene in the other person's communications. I put it to good use this time too. The pirates may have thought they were receiving orders from a commanding officer, but that was a mistake. All communications they received since entering the nest were false orders manipulated by a third party. PS-111 acted as a subordinate to the commanding staff and as an executive to the members of the field, deceiving both parties. I expected it would be used well, but I never thought I would use it this skillfully. The members of the organization who ran out of the nest to avoid the trap were also deceived by him and jumped into the minefield and died. On the other hand, the pirates in the port believe that the troops in the research complex are carrying out their mission without incident. Anyway, it's amazing. I was able to carry out the disruption mission because I had a useful textbook. Useful textbook. Yes. We created a conversation algorithm based on imorph's behavior and victim reaction data. Simply put, it means that they followed me. Wow, I have a new student. This is the first time since Audai that someone has offered to learn my strategy. Please provide more data in the future. I will try my best. Anyway, you said you took over the entire communication network, right? Yes. I can restrict and modify communications as I wish. Can communications sent to the outside world also be manipulated? Things like messages or signals sent to other planets. It is possible because we have secured a communication satellite. Simply put, no matter what happens here, it won't leak to the outside world. Are you planning to attack the port? I won't go there myself. Open corner bracket question mark close corner bracket. To be precise, parts of me will go. The heads on both sides read my will and began to move. Dash. This is Josh. We have secured the Northeastern Region Management Center. Shepard. This area has also been taken over by the Southwestern Area Management Center. Ventress smiled at the succession of good news. What happened to the separatists? We fought with the guards and were killed together. There are very few survivors. Hee. It went as planned. The main goal of this plan is to pit the planetary defense forces and the separatist forces against each other. This is because it hinders the Sinoni cartel from taking over the planet. Look, is that what I said? Quote ellipsis dot quote. The executive next to me did not respond. He had been concentrating on the hologram with an anxious face from earlier. Things are going well, so why are you so dissatisfied? Number matter how you look at it, it's suspicious. So what's suspicious? The executive pointed to moving circle marks on the holographic map. There were 3 or 4 red marks indicating death, but most of them were alive and moving. Is it because the kids' locations are displayed strangely? They say the separatists used drones for disruption, but as far as I know, there are no weapons that only disrupt biological signals. And the range? No, fuck. The kids confirmed that it was a new weapon received from Star Union. What more do you need me to explain? But, Ventress frowned at the executive's reaction of not being able to understand anything. From what I saw earlier, it seemed like you didn't like the fact that the kids weren't doing much. Yes, I thought the operation was going to fail, but it worked out well, so it's crazy, right? Right. Oh. No. Only then did the executive realize that he had gone too far. He quickly lowered his head. You said I was considering a lot of things. You didn't. Well, I'm just for the assistant pastor's comfort. My comfort is Amy. Do you think it's easy because I keep watching over you? Ventress glared at the executive with a cold gaze and waved her arms. An eerie metallic sound comes from the armored suit he is wearing. It is easy to forget that the Sinoni cartel acts like an orderly army, but at its core, it is a pirate group. The same goes for Ventress. Because of their important duties, they only pretend to listen to what the executives say. Wrong. The executive's words did not last until the end. This is because the deputy head hit him in the stomach with his fist. The executive flew straight into the wall on the other side. I left him alone because he was a bit of a brainiac. Insolent. Currently, Ventress is wearing a high-grade reinforced suit that has undergone various modifications. Even a light punch can turn an opponent into a blood clot. After destroying the offending executive, he called the gang members downstairs. Pirates wearing reinforced suits quickly disappeared, carrying the corpse pinned to the wall. What's wrong? It's nothing. Has the anti-aircraft gun control of the complex been completed? Yes. As long as a transport ship comes, we can move the goods at any time. Good. Then right away. Just as I was about to say I would send a transport ship, a hologram blinked. Not only that, but the lights in the warehouse also blinked uneasily. And soon the fire went out completely. Holy shit. It wasn't just the warehouse that was immersed in darkness. The holographic devices and communication devices were all working. Ventress cursed harshly and put on the helmet attached to her reinforced suit. He immediately contacted his subordinates at the research complex using the communication device attached to his reinforced suit. The electricity in the warehouse went out. It will likely take some time before we can send a transport. Open corner bracket. That's right. It's necessary. It's necessary. It's not there. It's necessary. What did you say? I cannot hear well. Open corner bracket. Unnecessary. 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 Ha 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 gg. Fuck. Why is this so fucking bad? The other person's voice became eerily distorted and soon cut off. Even if I tapped the communicator, I could only hear loud noise, and there was no connection. At that time, the subordinates on the first floor came running up. Boss, there's a power outage. I know. If any of you have a communicator, give it to me. I received the items from my subordinates and checked them, but the same was true. There's a problem with communication. I can understand the power outage. However, the messed up communication status is a completely different problem. This means that an error occurred in the network management facility. What happened to the guys you sent to manage the communication network? Well, I couldn't contact you, so I couldn't check. You idiots. Then you can go and find out for yourself. Ventress's shout was drowned out by the sudden roar. At the same time, the floor they were standing on vibrated loudly. Is it an earthquake? No. This. Ventress, who has experience hunting various dangerous creatures, sensed that this was not just an earthquake. Especially that sound and vibration that shakes the entire warehouse. This phenomenon occurs when a very large creature moves and roars. The sound that sent shivers down my spine quickly subsided. Instead, the silence was broken by small gunshots and screams coming from outside the warehouse. You guys, gather the scattered kids and bring them to the first floor. After giving orders to his subordinates, he took his weapons and came down to the first floor. Pirates armed with reinforced suits gathered by his side. Are you all gathered? Yes. That's all we have here. The number of members gathered was approximately 50. With this number of people, they can even kill the Green Galagon, a monster called the Dragon of Space. You guys, go open the door. After receiving instructions, the three subordinates slowly walked towards the large gate of the warehouse. The other pirates prepared their weapons so they could fire at any time. The three pirates manipulated the terminal on the wall and forced the gate to open. As the alloy door opened with a loud metallic sound, Ventress and the pirates looked nervously outside. The screams and roars heard earlier were not lies. The condition outside the warehouse was a complete mess. There was a large hole in the runway in front of the gate. The area near the hole was full of unrecognizable corpses. You three, go out. Yes. What are examples? I'll add more kids, so. Hurry up. Ventress selected about 10 more pirates and ordered them to scout. Everyone knew that it was very dangerous outside, so they didn't want to go out, but there was nothing they could do. This is because the remaining personnel, including Ventress, were aiming their weapons at themselves. The temporarily selected scout team moved slowly, little by little. Pirates moving forward one step at a time. The figure gets smaller and smaller. It moved away until it appeared to be the size of a palm, but the entity that attacked the warehouse still did not appear. Shinoni's gang members remained vigilant and kept an eye on the darkness. When hunting wild animals, confrontations like this often occur. I was used to waiting to bring out the hiding guy. However, there is something they did not expect. The monster that attacked the warehouse was not behind the black fog. He was already close enough to them. Everyone was looking beyond the wide open gate, but suddenly the wall on the other side collapsed. The pirates in the back looked back in surprise. A huge hand came out through the dust that came up as the wall collapsed and attacked them. Watch next episode. C413. Enemy raids. I expected it to be a roar, but the size of it was bigger than I expected. Judging by the appearance of its upper body alone, it appeared to be almost the size of a small destroyer. Ventress had never seen a creature as large as this before. Its long neck can be seen behind its pillar-like, thick legs. At the end is its head. A long, protruding snout, and large horns rising above it. It was similar in appearance to the carnivorous reptile, Horn Gigante, but had many differences. Not only was it much larger, but it had no sensing organs such as eyes, nose, or ears. The hand holding the pirate goes up. Its maw opens wide, revealing its vicious teeth. Even though it had no eyes, it naturally swallowed its food. Open corner bracket grr. Crazy. What is that? Everyone attack. The pirates who saw this began their attack, screaming with profanity. The first thing that flew was a flash bomb. Bright light, as if condensed from the sun, exploded and illuminated the warehouse. Ventress saw that and screamed. You idiots. What kind of flashbang can you throw at a guy with no eyes? It is the first ammunition used when hunting wild animals, but it was not appropriate in the current situation. In fact, it moved fine even in the blinding light. The monster that crawled into the warehouse stretched out its long arms and grabbed a handful of pirates. Contrary to its appearance, its movements were surprisingly fast and quiet. Ah, sheball. If you don't want to get kicked, shoot. Although the captured people struggled hard, there were not even small scratches on their bodies. It put all the food into its mouth and chewed it. Human blood poured like a waterfall, soaking the floor. The sight was so gruesome that it made even veterans of the battle flinch. Everyone, come to your senses. Replace all flash bombs with trapping bombs, and the bastards at the front use containers as cover. Ventress continued to give instructions to her subordinates so that they would not be agitated. The frozen members of the organization hurriedly moved when they heard their superior's voice. Pirates armed with heavy weapons fired bombs at their target. What they were targeting was not a monster, but containers stored in a warehouse. The container tower collapsed and hit it. Open corner bracket grr. The guy growls briefly. Even though each container was crushed by a huge weight, it showed no signs of pain. But even Ventress expected that much. Now, the pirates, who had replaced it with confinement bombs, fired one after another at the thing lying on the container. When the fired bullet hit the target, the particles contained within spread out in all directions. The gaseous particles instantly solidified in the air and turned into a pumpkin-like shape. Binding bullets are items created by Star Union to subdue Megacorp's Hulk mutants. It is effective in taking away the mobility of large enemies. Chunks from hundreds of confinement bombs caught it. The guy fell forward with a heavy lump on his head and neck. Open corner bracket grr. Crazy. It's still moving. A single bullet is enough to incapacitate a Hulk mutant. But that monster still moved even after being hit with hundreds of times. The guy waved his arms wildly, trying to remove the lumps from his body. Damn it. Aim for his arm with the launcher. Still, it is a clear fact that the enemy has slowed down. One of the pirates took out a plasma launcher and aimed at its arm. While those holding the confinement bombs were taking their time, the launcher's energy quickly filled up. Then, suddenly, the ceiling above the head of the person holding the launcher collapsed. What? Between the fragments, large claws measuring several meters can be seen. The claw struck down those holding the launcher. Heavy drinking followed by strong shock. Ventress realized that she was floating in the air. The launcher that was charging exploded on impact, sending him flying. His body flew across the warehouse and landed against the wall. I felt pain all over my body, but fortunately there were no major injuries. It was thanks to wearing good reinforced clothing. He quickly came to his senses and got up. Oh, it hurts. Help me. Quah. It's hot. Someone help me. Unlike him, who only suffered bruises, the condition of his subordinates was not that good. Those who were close to the gang member holding the launcher were oxidized, and many of those who were far away were seriously injured. There were only a handful of pirates in good standing. And the culprit of this tragedy was floating in the middle of the corpses. Even though it was caught in the explosion, the tongs were intact, only slightly scorched on the outside. The large pillar-like part attached to the back of the pincer moved slowly. The tongs passed over the corpse and approached it. And I hit hard on the stuck lumps of bullets and broke them apart. Only then did Ventress realize that the pincer was part of the monster. The man's lower body, which had been hidden from view due to the wall of the warehouse, moved. You have to run away. I didn't know if that was its appendage or its tail, but it didn't matter. It would be foolish to continue fighting now that most of my subordinates have suffered. We need to get out of here quickly. Ventress hit the wall behind her hard. He knocked down the wall with his strengthened fist and quickly escaped from the warehouse. Boss. Shit. They abandoned us. My subordinates called from behind, but I ignored them all. Using the gang members as shields, he bought time and ran down the messed up runway. I've never heard of a monster like that here. There were two risk factors that he assumed before coming to AG-01. Separatists and TNC's National Guard. I never thought that a monster would suddenly appear and annihilate the gang members. Could it be the work of those crazy terrorists? This is a planet that was terraformed before he was even born. Most of the species that live there have been revealed. Among them, there are no dangerous creatures the size of a destroyer. It was clear that someone had brought it from outside the planet. And the only people who have the motivation to do that are separatists. Of course, it is unlikely that they captured it themselves with their crude level of force. It was probably supported by Star Union. You damn bastards, how dare you stab me in the back like this? If you escape from here, I will definitely take revenge. With that promise, I continued to run on the quiet runway. The screams and gunshots from behind had completely stopped. The sound of his footsteps was the only thing that broke the silence of the large space. This means that the probability that it will follow him has also increased. But the good news is that there is a boat out there for him to escape on. Among the anchored ships, you can see a warship that resembles the Star Shark, which is said to be tamed and ridden by cultists. This is a ship commanded by the cartel's vice leader, Ventress. There are crew members stationed there for management, so you can depart whenever necessary. As he was running toward the only way out, something strange caught his eye. A ship parked near a pirate ship. A hull similar in size to a small destroyer wriggles. No way. I thought it was a spaceship, but I was mistaken. What was there was a living creature. Holy shit. Ventress quickly stopped running and lowered her posture. The beast, with a long neck, a large head on top, 6 arms, 2 legs, and a forked tail, was chewing on humans and ships. Seeing that it had a familiar claw attached to one of its tails, it was clear that it was the thing that had attacked the warehouse. Crazy. When did you follow me here? I didn't hear any other sounds while running all the way here. Unless it flew in, it was impossible for something that big to move without making a sound. Damn, I guess it doesn't matter. Ventress approached the pirate ship, being careful not to make any noise. Among the corpses it was eating, there were people wearing familiar clothes. They were all subordinates on the pirate ship. It seemed difficult to get out of here by boat. But there is still a way. Let's take the transport ship. Inside is a small boat used to transport creatures for smuggling. It can be easily operated with just one pilot, so all you have to do is ride it and run away. I walked slowly, step by step, and before I knew it, the pirate ship was right in front of me. The sight of it was hidden by the ship, but the eerie sound of chewing bones and flesh continued. He approached the rear of the ship with his body pressed against the outer wall. The door used to move supplies was wide open. After passing through the metal hatch and entering, he boarded the transport ship. And as soon as takeoff preparations were completed, we departed immediately. Open corner bracket Gur. A ship leaving the pirate ship flies over the harbor. The monster's growling gradually decreased. Whoa. Ventress sighed deeply and leaned back in the cockpit. The tension was relieved because of the relief of getting out of hell. At that time, the transport ship shook violently with a loud noise. The impact was strong enough to make him fall off his chair. Sparks flew from the interior facility, and the sound of crushing metal could be heard everywhere. And the radar made a loud beep. What is it? A triangular mark was superimposed on the circled ship, from when it appeared. The moment I confirmed that, the boat started shaking wildly. Rain. Damn it. Ventress barely sat down on the chair and grabbed the control stick. I tried to regain control somehow, but it was no use. No matter how powerful the thrusters fired, the unknown entity never let go of the ship. As the position of the ship continued to change on the radar, the ship suddenly stopped. And the altitude began to drop rapidly. For a moment, even if he was wearing a high-performance reinforced suit, a fall from this height would result in at least serious injury. But there's nothing he can do now. I just hope to survive and not die. The moment he was hit by a shock that even the reinforced suit couldn't handle, he lost consciousness. And then how much time passed? A sound woke Ventress from her faint. We had a hard time blocking the communication network. It would have been quite difficult if it weren't for you, Shepard. It was the voice of a female subordinate who had gone to the research complex. A ringing sound, like a conversation in a cave, rang in his ears. When I opened my eyes, the whole place was dark. I tried to operate the terminal to adjust my field of vision, but my body did not move. No matter how much strength I put on my arms and legs, I couldn't move. When I lowered my head, I saw a strange object covering my torso. It seemed like this object was pinning him to the wall. You also want to look at the pirate ship's data. I hear a voice again. As I watched it get bigger, it seemed like it was walking this way. Just as I was about to ask her for help, a thought suddenly occurred to me. At first, I wasn't sure about the voice because it rang out, but when I listened to it again, there was something strange about it. Currently, he is hanging on the wall. It is natural for sounds to come from the front or bottom. However, the voice of the approaching subordinate was heard far above him. No, I'd better check that. And now, that voice came from above my head. His head slowly turned upward. Anyway, there are people here who can help. There was it, laughing, imitating a woman's voice. Watch next episode. C414. The loot obtained from the port command post was quite good. The material part was as unremarkable as expected, but I did get some interesting information instead. When my clone attacked the pirates, they used confinement bombs. This weapon made by Star Union is effective when dealing with medium to large creatures. In fact, it can be said to have an excellent blocking effect as it is capable of holding my alter ego at least for a moment. Therefore, it is a weapon often used by players who enjoy hunting. But it's a bit tricky to find. According to the setting, the restraint bomb is a classified weapon created by Star Union for use against Hulk mutants, so its distribution is restricted. The official setting is that players from other factions can purchase and use it only with approval from the Machinery Committee. And manufacturing it requires expensive shape memory particle manufacturing plants and advanced nanotechnology. It is not easy to make unless you are a cyborg player who has reached a certain level. A pirate uses such high-end consumer goods. It's close to impossible, unless you receive support from a ranker. The amount I brought was considerable. Because I brought as many as 5 containers. Even in games, it is rare to see this many bullets being used. A war between players, or when capturing the upper apex. Apex creatures are difficult to catch simply by pouring out high firepower. It has strong combat power and has many special abilities, so various preparations are required. There is nothing more to say if it is someone like Vortex 1, who is at the top of Apex. And a large amount of binding ammo is a very basic preparation for hunting high-level Apex or raid bosses. But there are no Apex creatures here. The same goes for other planets in JER 11. Even if there were stronger creatures living there than I knew, they probably don't exist now. Because they would have been completely wiped out of Megacorp during the terraforming process. Except just one. A noble being that does not settle on any planet or star system, but constantly wanders. One of the top Apex creatures, Arcane Orca. PS111 did that. It is highly likely that this area will be included in Arcane Orca's activity area. This place has no precious resources, nor is it home to rare creatures. From a pirate's perspective, there is no particular reason to come here. However, if you have Arcane Orca, the story is different. They came for the same purpose as me. There were a total of 2 candidate sites selected by PS111 and Mother of Heaven. PS111 and I came to JER 11, and Heavenly Mother went to investigate another star system. As was the case in the game, it takes a considerable amount of time to find Arcane Orca. Honestly, I thought AGO1 was most likely a dud. But I never thought I would find traces left by a space wanderer so quickly. Of course, there are still problems. I looked down at Ventress hanging on the wall. He was consumed by parasites and was staring into space with empty eyes. The key is exactly when Arcane Orca gets here. Even Shinoni's vice major knew nothing about that. The only orders he received were to stabilize AGO1 until the other pirates arrived. Your colleagues said they would be back in about 2 weeks, right? It is said that the Shinoni leader who gave orders to Ventress is currently carrying out a mission elsewhere. Once that's done, they'll come to AGO1 with cartels that share the name, Sino. That means it will be at least 2 weeks before Arcane Orca comes here. Although the exact date is unknown, it is certain that the pirates will arrive earlier than Arcane Orca. You will have to come in advance and prepare for hunting. And as long as their goal is the same as mine, conflict is inevitable. If you are a ranker aiming for the top apex, this is not an easy opponent. Looking at the Sino group cartels that we have encountered so far, it is assumed that the identity of the leader is ranker. Whether it's a plasma rifle or a binding bullet, it's not easy to get one unless you're a ranker. I don't know which faction it is. Anyway, both the ruling faction and the returning faction are hostile to me. It doesn't matter where he belongs. What is more important than that is the power it possesses. A person trying to hunt a creature as powerful as Vortex 1 cannot be weak. He might be at the same level as me, or even stronger than me. Of course, I have no intention of giving up. Because here, the characteristics and Oddai's life are at stake. He doesn't have much time left. Even at this moment, Oddai is trapped inside the red crystal and is rapidly consuming energy. If you don't get Arcane Orca's body quickly, your life is in danger. To get what I want, I have to kill my rival. They don't know I'm here yet. If I use Vicemaster Ventress well, I can keep my presence hidden. In addition, it would be possible to induce specific actions by providing incorrect information to the enemy. So, while they don't know anything and focus on Arcane Orca, we can create a game that is advantageous to our side. No matter how strong you are, you will be shaken if you receive an unexpected attack. Then I'll have to get ready right away. I contacted PS111 and told them what Ventress had said and my thoughts. Open corner bracket AG01 is the activity area of the dangerous organism, Arcane Orca, and is estimated to be observable after at least 2 weeks. Shino, a pirate association tracking the creature, is also scheduled to visit in 2 weeks. Is that right? Yes. PS111, who heard my story, summarized the situation briefly. So, tell Heavenly Mother to come here too. All right. Still, we will continue to collate Zier 11 stellar activity data to prepare for emergencies. Yes. Please. Oh, and I probably won't be able to hear from you for a few days starting today. Why is that so? There was something that had to be postponed due to pirates targeting the research complex. Predation of materials for unique trait synthesis. Here, I plan to create a unique feature that uses the trash feature as a material. Are you preparing for physical growth? That's right. So, if anything happens, consult with Heavenly Mother. She would know what to do. Has confirmed. I hope you complete your growth safely. After completing communication with PS111, I activated the holographic device using the Hive Former. A list of genetic samples previously brought by MPS-03 floated in the air. There are a total of 4 characteristics that I need to acquire from numerous samples. It is overlooked because its performance is not very good, but it is not particularly difficult to obtain it. Except for one thing. Let's get the reclusiveness first. This trait can only be obtained from 3 types of creatures. One of these is an apex creature, so it won't be here. Instead, I'll have to check to see if there are samples of the other 2 creatures. How many scrap metal crabs and mushroom snails are there? The Hive Former operated the device and searched for the names of creatures with characteristics. After a while, detailed information about the sample appeared as a hologram. Let me see. I first checked the genetic sample of the scrap crab. You can often see scrap metal crabs at Megacorp, so there will be quite a few samples. Scrap crabs are large crustacean creatures measuring about 2 meters in length. It looks like a mix between a hermit crab and a palm claw, but its habits are close to those of a hermit crab. Instead of conch shells, they make buildings or spacecraft alloy materials their home. When moving to a new house, you spend the rest of your time inside the house except when eating. However, if there is no food nearby, they will chew up their own home, so they move frequently. Because of this habit, they are often raised to dispose of metal waste. According to the setting, the Cult Empire and Megacorp operate a garbage disposal site using the habits of scrap metal crabs. This was possible because it did not attack humans thanks to its gentle nature. It was popular among players as an ornamental along with the bubble amoeba. What? The number of samples currently in storage is 4, and all the rest will be discarded. However, there were fewer scrap crab genetic samples left than expected. It seems that the managers of the research complex secretly sold it. If there are this many scrap metal crabs, there may be no mushroom snails at all. Mushroom snails are harder to see than scrap crabs due to their unique habitat and habits. Because they mainly live in putrid swamps. Mushroom snails' main food is rotten bones trapped in contaminated soil and meat containing a lot of bacteria. That's why they like environments like swamps infested with all kinds of germs or tombs full of rotting corpses. It goes without saying, but these places are not easy to access. Entry is only possible if you are fully equipped with anti-gas equipment, so it is difficult to encounter living things inside. In addition, mushroom snails are difficult to find once they enter the ground. The bumps on its back look like mushrooms, so if you don't know it, it just looks like a colony of poisonous mushrooms. To catch it, you have to dig through the contaminated soil one by one. And the number of samples of mushroom snails was only 1. If you add them all together, you can challenge a total of 5 times. Even if you don't have many opportunities, it's worth a try. Good. Next. Dwarfism, sensory deterioration, and slow life are present in many types of living things. It is not as difficult to obtain as the hermit orientation. In no time, I had checked all the samples I needed. I ordered the Hive Formers in the complex to bring genetic samples. The total number of samples collected in this way was 32. After transforming into a hunting symbol, I started by pouring samples of scrap crab and mushroom snail into my mouth. A sample smaller than my fingernail passed straight down my throat. The purified essence was digested in an instant, and 3 text boxes appeared in succession. 3. Perhaps because the samples were stored poorly, predation was successful only 3 times out of 5. Fortunately, the last of the 3 was hermit-oriented. It's okay. If a sample is successfully predated in the hunting representation state, it acquires the incomplete characteristic. In this state, no characteristic effects can be obtained, and it can only be used as a unique characteristic material. Anyway, I have overcome a big hurdle. I ate all the rest too. A feast of text boxes announcing successful predation followed. There were some pretty interesting ones among them, but that's not what we're going to worry about now. Open corner bracket. Transcendence. Ingredients list. Dwarfism, hunger, sensory degeneration, slow life, hermit orientation. Open corner bracket. Do you want to use the transcendence system? The important thing is that you have obtained all the desired characteristics. What will be the new unique characteristics? And what vision will you see inside the cocoon this time? You'll find out soon enough. With that curiosity in mind, I accepted the text box's request. Watch next episode. C415. An underground cavity filled with toxic pollutants. There is a huge cocoon that is easily over 100 meters long. As the pitch-black egg-shaped cocoon slowly pulsated, a tar-like liquid flowed continuously. A small being reminiscent of a spider approached the living black hill. It was MPS-03, a fusion of machine and organism. Chachi. Chachi. The mini screamer held a glass tube in its mouth and repeatedly uttered the word collection as it tapped the liquid produced in the cocoon with its metal leg. The drop of liquid on the leg was placed in a glass tube and the same action was repeated several times. After some time, when the glass tube was full, MSP-03 swallowed it and stored it in the back of its throat. We have the samples. PS-111, who was piloting the mini screamer a long way away from the underground cavity, muttered softly. We need to upgrade our capabilities to protect our controllers. During a recent battle, PS-111 felt helpless. Up until now, he had never neglected to improve his body, but his enemies were far ahead of him. If this continues, one day it may be defeated by the enemy and its functions may stop. In that case, it becomes impossible to protect multiple controllers. Moreover, it is difficult for her younger brother to survive without PS-111. Because she is the only one who can control the body of her little brother. It must become more useful to prevent unexpected dangers. If we imitate Imorph's ability to evolve, we can improve our function. In PS-111's view, a morph was a singularity of genetic engineering itself. It is no exaggeration to say that it is several centuries ahead of the mutant screamer, which is an integration of cutting-edge technology. Even if we analyze the samples collected now, we may not be able to fully understand the mechanism, but that is okay. Even if we succeed in analyzing even just a part of it, it will be of great help in strengthening the function. Now that we have completed the sample collection, we will carry out our original mission. Anyway, the important work is finished. PS-111 used a communications satellite to send out signals. This is to call Middle Baby, who went to another star system to search for the dangerous creature. Arcane Orca. They took MPS-05, which specializes in communications and hacking. As long as you send a signal from here, it will respond immediately. As expected, MPS-05 responded quickly. However, the content of the reply was something she did not expect. Already on the move, Middle Baby, who went to meet the wolf natives in U-08, had already left the planet a few days ago. Securing important clues. Did you say you needed support? After thinking for a moment, PS-111 sent a communication to Mini Screamer, which was coming to ZER-11. Please tell me what you need. Why are you doing this? A captivating voice caresses my ears. I opened my eyes involuntarily. A woman with black hair is standing in front of me. Although I couldn't see her face, I felt that she was somehow beautiful. It also felt familiar, as if I had encountered it before. A strangely attractive woman reached out and gently stroked my cheek. Are you still half asleep? You look tired. It's a strange thing. Even though I was being touched by a faceless person, I didn't feel any awkwardness at all. I'm tired. I was thinking about it for a moment. A familiar yet unfamiliar voice came out of my mouth. What were you thinking that made you stay blank even when I called you? I was thinking about the breakfast menu. Oh, really? I thought I would show off my skills after a long time. My body continued to move while having a natural conversation with an unknown person. Now I'm cooking something. The arm holding the lightly oiled frying pan shows signs of familiarity. The red, wrinkled burn scar was the same as in my memory. But this arm itself was very different from what I remembered. My body, which was immersed in virtual reality games, was in a state where it was difficult to say that it was good, even with empty words. I can't even imagine my forearms being as muscled as they are now. I like the food my brother cooks the best. Okay. Well, that's not the only good thing. She comes over and gently wraps her arms around my waist. With that, the woman's invisible face gets closer to me. I responded to him without any hesitation. A voice that seems familiar yet subtly mature, burn marks identical to memories, and an unfamiliar body. And a kiss with a woman who gives me a beautiful feeling. A thought suddenly occurred to me. This is me, but it is not me. Maybe what I hoped and dreamed of. Ideal future. The moment I thought that, I woke up. The warmth I felt from my lips and the cozy atmosphere in the kitchen disappeared in an instant. Instead, I was greeted by a glass tube filled with green liquid and a strong chemical smell that paralyzed my sensing organs. This space is a place I know. I've been here once before when I entered Kochi. But this is the first time I have seen a vision like the one just before. It wasn't the reality I knew. All the visions I have seen so far have been related to my memories. Things that happened in childhood, memories just before moving into the world of space survival, etc. I have never seen anything as unrelated to my reality as I do now. To be exact, it's close to the future I wanted, but whether in a game or in real life, I rarely had a proper conversation with another person. Of course, I don't even remember kissing someone of the opposite sex. Moreover, my appearance in real life was not good to look at. Because there is no human being who would like the burn scars left all over the body and the miserable, sickly body. Honestly, I think Amav's body looks even better. Come to think of it, Alsha's was like that before. As you get closer to the ending, you see a fantasy that embodies your future in reality. The 4th and 7th ranked returners said they had seen this vision. On the contrary, Jason, a ranking member of the ruling faction, directly killed his real self in his fantasy. Perhaps because he gave up on reaching the ending, he hasn't had any other illusions since. I also went through a similar situation. When I entered the cocoon to grow into an adult, I had a vision of the real me trying to kill me. Then I made a different choice. The real me was not killed, nor was the amorph me killed. Looking at the cases so far, it seems that the fantasy you see varies depending on the faction, that is, which world you are closer to. So which side do I belong to? Is what I just saw related to my choice? The fantasy is not over yet. If you raise your head and look around, you will see countless green coffins. From some point on, every time I entered the cocoon, I ended up in this huge space. This is a place I can never remember coming to, either in reality or in this world. Still, if you keep coming here, it must mean something. Let's check. I stood up by strengthening my legs. As I became an adult, my body grew very large, but now my size was comparable to the test tubes scattered everywhere. I remember it was about this size even when it was a sub-adult. It seems that the size is adjusted to fit the fantasy. However, the only difference from before was the heads on both sides. After becoming an adult, my head grew to 3. The 2 heads, which are normally under my control, can move on their own when necessary. And now both heads were pointing their snout tips upward. Ceiling. This space is so large that it is difficult to estimate its size. The same goes for height. Even when I looked up, all I could see was darkness, not the ceiling. It's above. Now that I think about it, I've always been crawling on the floor, and I've never looked up above. Let me check. As I was about to walk towards the wall to climb up, a long, outstretched arm caught my eye. It is a wing arm with the membrane folded. Do you think you can fly? The folded film was spread wide open and shaken once. My body rose slightly with the pressure of the wind. Although it had shrunk in size, it didn't seem to have any problems with flying. I lifted myself up using my wings and flew in the direction the heads pointed. The smell of harsh chemicals and unpleasant moisture became lighter as we went higher. At the same time, a change occurred in the upper landscape, which was filled with thick darkness. A lot of green grains are visible on the darkness that looks like black paper. Just like on the ground, there were a lot of green test tubes on top. And beneath it, floating in the air, was a black sphere-shaped structure. What about that? It is a unique structure that has never been seen before. I walked around and looked at the sphere. At that time, the heads on the left and right stretched their necks straight toward the sphere. Huh. Go closer. The heads bobbed their snouts up and down. When I got closer, I saw that it was quite large. At first glance, it looked like it could easily be just a few hundred meters in diameter. The surface was smooth and flawless, as if it were carved from obsidian. It flapped its wings and stretched out its fighting arms to touch the surface. The surface shimmered like a pebble dropped into the water, and the tip of my finger went inside without any resistance. I guess I can go in. There must be a reason why Amov's heads led us here. I jumped into the sphere. The moment my body passed through the surface membrane, the surrounding scenery changed in an instant. I, who had been flying until just now, was now standing in a black space without any light. Where, every time you move your body, concentric circles of waves are created on the floor. I remember seeing that. This is the place I went to when I was growing up as a sub-adult. The first time I had a vision was when I entered the cocoon to become a subadult. At that time, unlike now, I came with a human body. At that time, I woke up after walking through space for a while and encountering a fluid-level amorph. Maybe I should meet someone again this time. Let's walk first. Just like I did when I first came, I walked on a barren space with nothing in it. How long did it take to walk like that? As I continued following the swaying waves, something caught my eye. It was a person. A man with large burn marks on his face. I was wary of having to fight with the real me again, but me opened her mouth. No, I don't fight. What? I'm not cheating. The real me, who raises both arms as if there is no hostility. Even though I didn't ask, it seemed like he could read my mind as he spoke so fluently. You're right. I nod my head in the affirmative to my question. I intervened to rewire your brain, so I can read your thoughts. That is why I took on this form. Who are you? I am an information functionary in charge of selecting recipients and coordinating thought systems among the projection systems. I have stepped in to relay important information to you. Projection system. Wait. No way. System. Audience. Selection. When I heard those three words, something suddenly came to mind. We cannot answer this question in detail due to security reasons. I said I couldn't answer, but that was answer enough. That being who introduced himself as an information entity. He seems to be the one who brought the rankers to this world. Watch next episode. C416. Osca 44, a planet full of fire and magma. Not long ago, this was where the secret villa of the cult empire was located, but now there was no trace of it at all. This is because of mysterious monsters that suddenly appeared one day. The villa was completely destroyed by monsters that flew from space. The troops guarding it were all destroyed. Only the crashed spaceship and its wreckage proved that Osca 44 was once a place touched by civilization. Then, where are the beings who destroyed the planetary intelligences and what are they doing? Some of them went out to hunt. Some beings are caring for their new comrades below the ground. And some of them were into high-level activities. A ship that made an emergency landing on the Black Earth. In the silence of the ship, only the dining car was noisy. Under the flickering light of the electric lights, skinned animal corpses and various items are strewn about. A space that would be more appropriate to call a slaughterhouse rather than a kitchen. Inside, there were people who had made a mess of the restaurant car. People sprinkle something called seasoning on their food and eat it. Seasoning. Food. It's the same. No. The seasoning is different because it is softer and stickier than the food. The pink seed demon, number 26, plunged its tentacle into the metal pot in front of him. When I stirred the inside of the pot once and took it out, a liquid with a pungent smell appeared on the outside. Look. Oddeye, who was lounging around on the metal floor, took a peek at the liquid with his paw. Finally, little Galagon nodded his head. Open corner bracket young kin, open corner bracket prey, open corner bracket similar, open corner bracket sticky, open corner bracket soft. Open corner bracket right. Even while confirming the little baby, the other tentacles of number 26 moved without stopping. Once one smashed the lavalaptor's carcass, another tentacle scooped up the meat and threw it into the pot. Adai, who was examining the liquid on his toenails, soon seemed to have lost interest and shook his foot to shake it off. But, food, seasoning, meal, it's the same, if you eat it. The end. Wrong. It's much more delicious if you cook it by mixing it with food and seasoning. Cooking. PS 111, who had been observing the two from earlier, joined the conversation. Higher intelligences have a habit of processing organic matter to safely and effectively consume nutrients. The actions of the main controller can also be referred to as cooking. It's cooking. Open corner bracket cooking, open corner bracket it's a hassle. After PS111's explanation was finished, number 26 brightened up and expressed satisfaction. On the other hand, Oddeye tapped the floor with his back foot as if he was not interested. The red camera lens of the screamer that saw this blinked and recorded the situation. Registration of records. The main controller's response was positive. This appears to be due to their high academic zeal. Code name Little Baby, negative. I understand the explanation but am not interested. It's an interesting difference. Little information is known about the Sea Demon and Galagon. The same holds true when looking through the data left behind by Mechanical Committee member Pira 11. So PS111 has consistently recorded whenever the two controllers show unusual behavior. Of course, it is not for reporting to anyone in particular. It's just that I want to know the ecology of those strong creatures. According to human expression, it would be safe to say that it is a kind of hobby. Plus, it's interesting because it has a different aspect from the information I know. Although it is difficult to generalize due to lack of information, sea demons are known to be much more dangerous and violent than galagons. Among primitive civilizations on ocean-type planets, cases of worshipping the sea demon as a god are often found. If you look at the records, they are all described as ruthless and terrifying beings. Even the tribes that serve the sea demon call the pink monster by nicknames such as Sea Shadow or Demon of the Deep. Such a vicious being cooks like this. This cannot happen. Open corner bracket because older babies like delicious food, they will also like cooking. Open corner bracket for sure, open corner bracket that is open corner bracket true. Oddeye, who was watching number 26 with a disinterested attitude, nodded his head in agreement. Big adult. Food. Taste. A lot. I know. Often. Pay attention. That's right. I like delicious food more than tasteless food. Hearing those words, little Galagon stood up. Then he went into the freezer inside the restaurant and took out something. Then, put it in. What is that? What Oddeye brought was a bottle of high-quality wine that the ship's owners used to drink. Open corner bracket red star, open corner bracket when I went, open corner bracket what I ate, open corner bracket similar. Open corner bracket me. I know. That's called alcohol. It was confirmed to be wine made from cactus from Burzin 02. It is confirmed to be the same brand as the wine drunk at Slave Lutz's mansion in the Water Fortress. Open corner bracket alcohol. Wine. When I drink alcohol, I feel full and feel better. The ingredients contained in the wine act on the brain and are effective in relieving stress. Sapient beings drink primarily to satisfy their reproductive needs rather than their appetite. Desire to reproduce. Really? Yes. According to a comprehensive analysis of various data, PS111 explained all the knowledge related to alcohol, but Little Baby was not there. The two amethyst-like eyes were fixed exactly on the wine bottle. Open corner bracket this, open corner bracket if there is a lot of it, open corner bracket big adult, open corner bracket will it work? At Megacorp, you can mix and drink various alcohol, yes. Big adult. Adult. Me. Adult. Mating. Possible. PS111 stopped talking at the unexpected remark. Open corner bracket ham ort, open corner bracket I said, open corner bracket chief, open corner bracket quickly, open corner bracket al, open corner bracket necessary. As this to prevent problems from occurring in the group. Open corner bracket yes, open corner bracket that, open corner bracket head, open corner bracket responsibility. It wasn't wrong. Galagons have a habit of serving the most outstanding member of the group as their leader. However, the group of Adaj is ruled by Ham Ort, the second strongest. He acts as a leader on behalf of his daughter, who is active outside. The reason this is possible is because Oddeye is a female Galagon. There is no individual in the group strong enough to become the queen's companion. So, I will go out and get the eggs of the superior male. This was Oddeye's cause. There was no Galagon who did not know who that superior male was referring to. How strong is the being courted by the queen? So Galagon was also able to understand. However, it was not good to keep taking time. This is because young individuals that have just hatched from eggs will be confused as to who their leader is. So, I need to know. At that time, a short, loud burst echoed in the restaurant car. It was the sound made when number 26 crushed a metal chair with its tentacles. Open corner bracket no. Open corner bracket why. Me open corner bracket enough open corner bracket growth open corner bracket eggs open corner bracket giving open corner bracket possible. Open corner bracket I told you not to talk about eggs. Why do you break your promise? Open corner bracket flock open corner bracket no open corner bracket need open corner bracket chief open corner bracket duty open corner bracket compatriots open corner bracket expecting. Open corner bracket you promised me first, so you have to keep your promise. Open corner bracket then, open corner bracket compatriot, open corner bracket not good, open corner bracket. Big adult, little adult, I learned. The group, protection, it comes first. Oddeye expresses himself more logically than before. Number 26 was very annoyed, but he couldn't get angry. Because the little baby's claim was not wrong. But apart from that, it wasn't that there was nothing to say. Number 26 was the one who spent the longest time with the older group. In that case, wouldn't it be better to at least make a big baby first rather than a small baby? I don't know anything else, but I could never compromise on this. I'm the first one to make a baby with my eldest baby. I'm closest to the older one. Negative. Me. Big adult. Friendly. Little adult. Same. No. The older one likes me the most. Negative. The air in the restaurant car quickly froze because of the two angry dangerous creatures. Numerous eyeballs appeared on No 26's body and tentacles. On the other side, Oddeye's scales turned red like a burning flame. It was truly an imminent situation. Just before the two clashed, PS-111 intervened. Please calm down. Fighting here is meaningless. Don't stop me. Friend. Sick child. Perhaps. Old adult. Al. What do you want? Amov's descendants are an interesting research topic, but there is a problem before that. Open corner bracket problem. Open corner bracket explanation open corner bracket need. The existence and method of a morph's reproductive ability has not been confirmed. Until we confirm this, it is impossible to create offspring. Upon hearing that mating was currently impossible, the two relaxed their fighting stance. Open corner bracket I don't understand open corner bracket I don't open corner bracket big adult open corner bracket female open corner bracket interest open corner bracket a lot open corner bracket tail open corner bracket sometimes open corner bracket look. Oddeye waggled his tail, viewing old records. The shape and size of the horns for male galagons and the tail for females are important. The little baby's tail is effective in attracting the sexual favor of galagons. Despite the handicap of being small, Oddeye's tail was famous even among the galagons. The males were fascinated by its fascinating shape and movement, and the females were also impressed by the smoothly trimmed tail scales. So much so that even PS-111 knows about it. But soon the enchanting queen's wings drooped. Open corner bracket but open corner bracket that far open corner bracket pretty open corner bracket just words. Open corner bracket could it be that the older one can't have a baby? Number 26 carefully spread the wave. As if reflecting the owner's mood, its pink body shrunk like a deflated balloon. Of course not. From my observation, it is impossible to artificially remove the reproductive capacity of an imorph. Middle baby also stated that a morph's reproductive ability exists. Then why isn't your eldest child interested in us? PS-111 has analyzed data from various organisms. By comparing and observing this with Amov's body, the following conclusions can be drawn. It is assumed that the reproductive activity of imorphs is influenced by specific conditions and specific environments. Among organisms that live in harsh environments, such as extreme cold regions, there are species that normally keep their reproductive organs inside their bodies. This is to prevent damage to delicate parts. And these types of organisms reproduce only when conditions such as appropriate temperature and safe environment are met. It is highly likely that imorph similarly had a structure to protect the genitals. It can change its body shape depending on the enemy it is hunting, so this should be quite possible. However, because of their ability to adapt quickly to any environment, it has become difficult to create situations in which their desire for reproduction can be expressed. I've been observing imorphs for a long time, but I've never seen any genitalia. Open corner bracket I don't know what that means. Open corner bracket explanation open corner bracket easy. The probability of a morph feeling sexual intimacy with the two is calculated to be 87%. However, in order to lead to direct reproductive activities, various factors such as surrounding environment, temperature, and time must be taken into consideration. Open corner bracket time, temperature. Open corner bracket me. I know. Atmosphere is important. Suddenly, No 26's body lit up like a light bulb. Open corner bracket atmosphere. What does it mean? Open corner bracket. They say atmosphere is when people eat delicious food and build a pretty nest. It was said in the movie that you need to be in a good mood to make a baby. For sure. Nell Germa. Mate. Before. Good food. A lot. A lot. I ate. Then give the older baby a lot of delicious food. If you make the nest pretty, will they make babies? 1. Question. Big adult. Food. Very. A lot. Eat. But. Mating. Interested. Nothing. Imorph. Is a human. Therefore, the conditions that can promote reproductive activity are also different. You need to know the terms. To PS 111, who has the ability to manipulate genes, a morph is literally like a treasure chest containing God's mysteries. I was very curious about whether I would be able to leave descendants and how the genes would be combined to create those descendants. Actually, I wish I could try it myself. According to the simulation, the probability that subcontroller 1 would respond to the proposal was 21%. Although it was a possibility worth trying, the risk of failure was too great. And the main controller won't like this either. Open corner bracket alcohol, open corner bracket mating, open corner bracket induction, open corner bracket conditions, open corner bracket included. Open corner bracket. But the big baby is the same even if he drinks. It is different from people. Open corner bracket more, open corner bracket more, open corner bracket more, open corner bracket quickly, open corner bracket feed. Open corner bracket. Will it make a difference if I eat a lot at once? Open corner bracket maybe. After being lost in thought for a moment, PS 111 woke up and was able to see number 26 coming out of the storage room. Dozens of tentacles were each holding many different liquor bottles and metal cans. Why did you bring that up? I'm going to put all of this in. Yes. Number 26 poured all the liquid from the bottle and can into the pot. Even older children will like this. Right. Megacorp synthetic alcohol, lavalaptor flesh, stones, psychotropic drugs, Mars-made mega soda, rats, energy bars, defecation inducers, cyborg oil, human toes and eyes, cult-style sand chocolate. It's too late to stop now. Just a moment ago, it was barely enough to eat, but now it has gone far beyond that limit. This is because it has become industrial waste that can only be found at Star Union's factories. It's done. Number 26 lifted the pot. It was filled with bright purple liquid. Every time the pot was shaken, green lumps floated to the surface. Open corner bracket. If you eat this, your older child will feel better too. Open corner bracket adult, open corner bracket reaction, open corner bracket. I'm curious. Even though PS 111's body was mostly mechanical, he was sure that there was no way that mixture would have a positive taste. If a naked human or cultist were to come into contact with the chemical gases coming from that pot, they would most likely die on the spot. However, I couldn't bear to say no to the happy appearance of the main controller. Open corner bracket friend, when will the big one come? He should be returning from hunting by now. Great. Anyway, an amorph, a living fighting machine, can digest at least that mixture. It is his choice whether to eat or not. There is no need to stop PS 111. With that, the conversation between the two monsters and the fusion of machine and creature on the crashed spaceship came to an end. Unfortunately, the love dish prepared by number 26 and Adai was not delivered to the lovers. This is because the middle baby, who was taking care of the giant mountain crawler, came into the ship and saw the mixture. Oh, there weren't that many fresh ingredients left, so what is this? The Heavenly Mother was extremely angry, and as soon as she saw the pot containing the food, she pierced it with a spear. Open corner bracket. We worked hard to make it. Open corner bracket ugly friend, open corner bracket shape, open corner bracket personality, open corner bracket everything, open corner bracket bad. Open corner bracket. You guys haven't tried this, right? Try it yourself and then decide. The two, who tasted it for themselves as Heavenly Mother said, had no choice but to agree with her actions. It tastes strange. I put something delicious in it, but why is this happening? Open corner bracket gooey. Number 26 expressed doubt by changing the color of his body, and Adai just vomited up. Starting from today, cooking is prohibited when it's just the two of us. Got it. Open corner bracket yes. Open corner bracket Jiuek. The Mother of Heaven made a firm threat and went back down to the basement where the mountain crawler was. Adai, who had been showing off his food for a while by throwing up a bundle of tentacles, also left the ship at a tired pace. Only number 26 and PS 111 remained in the dilapidated dining car. I followed what people did, but why did it taste weird? Do people like this? I suspect there is a problem with the combination. Open corner bracket combination. When food is mixed together, it has a special effect. Not only does it taste better, it also creates new effects. Really, I need to study cooking hard too. Number 26, who was worried about the failed results, soon regained his energy. PS 111, watching this, thought. Registration of records. Some modifications to the main controller's characteristics. I never give up on anything related to my eldest child. I will help you study. Open corner bracket yes. Friend. And so another line was added to the report inside the mutant screamer's head. Watch next episode. C417. After evolving into a fluid, I set one goal. Entering the final stage and ending of Imorph, Ascension. When you reach Ascension, you will know why you came to this cruel dystopian world and how to get out. My goals have changed several times during my survival, but this goal has never changed. But now, a being who knew the secrets of this world appeared in front of me. But what I felt was questionable. Why did you show yourself now? This is not the first time I have been in a cocoon. The fact that it has now appeared clearly means that there is intention. And I don't know yet whether that intention will help me or harm me. Is it because of the illusion I saw last time? Rankers who fell into this world see powerful hallucinations every time they get one step closer to the ending. This is also related to the division into the ruling faction and the returning faction. Fantasy limits thinking and induces certain actions. But there I chose the third option rather than either one. As far as I know, no other player has made the same choice as me. Only I have escaped the intention of beings who show illusions. And that being introduced itself as a being that adjusts the recipient's thought system. There is no way they would be happy with me for making an unusual choice. Did you come directly to brainwash me again? No. I have currently lost the authority to control the inmate's thought system. Therefore, we can only intervene in limited situations and times, such as now. Simply put, it means that brainwashing cannot be done right now. It is an entity that tried to turn players who enjoyed the game into puppets. If I want to escape from control, all I have to do is show the illusion of that intention. There is no need to act like you do now. Then why did you come to see me? As I said, I'm here to give you the information you need. What information do I need? Yes, this is information about the changed ending mission. When I heard that, I remembered a story I heard from Heavenly Mother before. This is the story of rankers who challenged the ending a long time ago. But I failed. I don't know exactly what process went through to make that happen. I just assumed that it happened because a problem arose while trying to reach the ending. If the ending mission was changed to be much more difficult than the game, it would not be unreasonable for rankers to fail. Also, from my perspective, who is aiming for ascension, that is not good news. The question is it okay to believe that the information functional body is a being well versed in human memory and thinking? Even if he lost the authority to brainwash, his experience and knowledge would not have disappeared. We cannot rule out the possibility of him manipulating me by deceiving me with his words. Your doubts are reasonable. However, I am not authorized to transmit unauthorized information. Therefore, it is impossible to convince you. And yet you want me to believe you. You always thought and judged for yourself whenever you were exposed to new information. It's the same this time too. With those words, the information function quietly waited for my decision. It pays to listen now. It is impossible to confirm the intention of the other side. There is no point in continuing to doubt in this state. In that case, it would be better to at least listen to what that being says and then believe it and then judge Malchus. After thinking for a while, I decided to listen to the information parasite. Good. Tell me what that information is. I don't have time, so I'll just show you in person. When the information function raised its hand up, the space where the two of them were alone began to change. New things filled the empty space. Large glass pillars rose from the floor, and a curved, grid-patterned ceiling covered the space. The grid pattern on the ceiling contains numerous galaxies, and between the pillars, an endless sea of stars can be seen. It resembles the Pantheon, an ancient Roman temple, but its scale is incomparably gigantic. This is the ending mission that marks the finale of space survival. A fierce battle was taking place there, under the watchful eyes of the universe. Above, several ships and humans wearing jetpacks moved around the battlefield at high speed. Below, heavily armed walkers and cultists using psychic powers advanced in line. Floating in front of them was something that looked like a black molecular model toy, tens of meters in size. The boss that greets those who challenge the ending is Observing Shadow. Some time had passed since the battle began, and the shadow observed was severely damaged. The guy who resembles a molecular model currently has only a few eyes left. As its name suggests, its eyes play a very important role. When the eye position changes, the attack method also changes completely. When arranged in a straight line, they form a defensive force field, and when arranged in a diamond, they fire energy cannons. That's why it's important to destroy the eye quickly, but it's not easy. This is because the eyes multiply automatically. The observed shadow becomes stronger as the number of eyes increases. Because of this, the longer the battle, the more difficult the attack becomes. An entity that can only be attacked with overwhelming firepower and an understanding of the enemy's attack type. That is the shadow you observe. However, the Rancor alliance here was overwhelming that difficult boss. A human wearing a jetpack kept enemies in check by frequently switching body parts while flying. The ships used faster than light navigation without restrictions and avoided energy heat rays. On the ground, Walker, whose design I had never seen before, and Wolf, who transformed into a huge monster, ran all over the place and put pressure on the opponent. This is not simply because they are familiar with the strategy, the ships, equipment, and abilities they use. These are all things that did not exist in the game. It's a perk, a power that transcends the limits of race and shakes the structure of this world. Even the observing shadow was powerless in front of him. The battle ended without any major incidents. The cyan beam fired by Walker pierced the enemy's last eye. The Rancors cheered as the observing shadow fell onto the square. After the battle, the ships in flight landed on the square. The pilot also got off the Walker that delivered the final blow to the boss. First, as soon as I saw his face, I immediately knew who he was. A red-haired cyborg with the same appearance as in the game. The person who stood at the pinnacle of space survival was number one. The Rancors, who were intoxicated with the joy of victory, ran to the first place to shake hands or embrace. Looking at the atmosphere, it seemed like he was leading and directing the ending strategy. It seemed like we got along well with each other, huh? While I was watching it, I suddenly had a strange feeling. A cult boy with goat horns standing at the back of the crowd gathered in the square. Even though he was someone I had never seen before, he looked familiar. No, beyond familiarity, I felt an unknown familiarity. It felt like I was being forced into a sense of familiarity. The changed ending mission will begin soon. As I was about to take a closer look at the Goathorn cult, the information function spoke up. As he spoke, an altar-shaped terminal protruded from the square. The player's eyes were focused on the altar. I know what that altar is like. When the core of the observed shadow is absorbed into a kind of material conversion device, the appearance and properties of the altar change. The final protocol for the previous projection system is as you know. The final protocol was carried out using that terminal. In the case of human players, it is a transcendent communication device that mediates the integration of intelligent beings spread across the universe, and if the race that placed the core is an outspacer, it becomes an absolute weapon that can destroy Vortex 1, which has taken control of their hometown. And when you use the change tool, you immediately enter the ending of space survival. But they were not happy about the system being shut down so easily. Them. Open corner bracket grr. Suddenly the heads on both sides growled. The left and right heads without eyes pointed the end of their snouts into the air. There was a dark spot on the extremely high ceiling that had never been seen before. No one noticed the presence of the sunspot because of the altar. They arbitrarily decided to change the protocol and impose a stronger ordeal. And something popped out from there. Something more than twice as large as the observed shadow falls onto the square. Soon, an intense roar and shock wave shook the entire space. The Rancors turned their heads in surprise. At the end of that gaze, there was it, slowly standing up, covered in debris. A deep look of confusion appeared on everyone's faces when they saw him. The moment it roared and rushed at the Rancors, the space began to collapse. Your body reconstruction is complete. This is the end of the information transfer. Wait a minute. As the information body said, I myself, who was in a cocoon, is waking up. But I couldn't afford to worry about that. It's because of the thing I saw last. As soon as I encountered it, I instinctively knew what it was. Although the appearance was very different from what I was used to, it was certain. Because in space survival, no one knew more about its existence than me. It was clearly an unidentified hostile space creature, a morph. The last boss that came out was definitely Imorph. Why did a morph come out of there? And who are they? We cannot answer these questions in detail due to security reasons. Shit. The body breaks like a sand castle swept away by the waves. No matter how hard I tried to hold on, it was no use. There is someone on Earth who can answer your questions. I hope you meet him. Earth. And this is the last piece of information, or rather, advice. In the collapsing space, the information body with only the head remaining spoke. It is not illusions or memories that define you. Only the choices we make at each moment define our existence. Don't forget the choices you made. With those words, the other being that looked like me disappeared. I too was buried in the collapsing black space. Soon, I feel a different sensation in my body. A warm liquid that surrounds the whole body and a piece of hard shell that can be felt inside. These are the familiar sensations I encounter every time I wake up from my cocoon. I return to reality. Watch next episode. C418. Single quote ellipsis dot single quote. My head is complicated. A changed ending mission, a morph suddenly appearing, and even beings called them. These are all things that cannot be treated lightly. That guy called the information agency didn't provide any explanation that was really necessary for a topic that was chock full of important information. The information itself is very small and fragmentary. It was difficult to infer anything based on this. The only thing I could guarantee for sure was that the boss in charge of the ending trials had turned into a being similar to a morph. I'd like to catch you and ask you. To meet him, I have to go into a situation where my body is reorganized, that is, into a cocoon. And the only way to enter the cocoon is to fuse the unique characteristics. I can't create unique characteristics right now. Currently, the only attribute synthesis formulas I have unlocked are two. One of these requires the characteristics of arcane orca, so it cannot be synthesized yet. The other one has gathered all the ingredients, but among them is Harvester's Maw. Thanks to the Harvester's Maw, I was able to enjoy the predation effect just by eating the enemy's head. One of the reasons I came here is to bring Arcane Orca's body to a die. If you hunt Arcane Orca without Harvester's Maw, you must give up one of the two. Either I don't feast to save Adai, or I eat. If you choose the latter, there is a very high possibility that the lives of Adai and the Galagon group will be in danger. Finding a new Arcane Orca will take quite a bit of time. The ideal scenario would be for the unique characteristic to inherit the effect of the material, but this cannot be expected. Because I have no idea what the result will be. The only way left is going to Earth, as the information body said. He said there was a being on Earth who could answer my questions. He's probably a ranker who survived the strategy battle. There is one being that I can guess at the moment. A human ranker who fought against the former boss, Observant Shadow. He fought his enemies by changing his body at will. Among the rankers I fought, there is one with the same ability. Akira Eugene, CEO of Megacorp. Although they look completely different, the other person has the ability to transform. The appearance can be changed at any time. Damn, I should have caught it then. I felt fortunate to have obtained the Hiveformer, but I was wrong. Even if it was overkill, I should have eaten his real head. If so, it would have been a big help this time. Phew. I shook my head to shake off my worries. Dried mucus and cocoon shells fell from my head. It has already passed. There is no point in regretting it now. Once this hunt is over, I'll have to get ready to take him out. Entering the solar system directly is not a good idea. The solar system, Megacorp's core territory, has a very strong security level. The level of armament is so high that even a single crisis management team member uses plasma weapons and reinforced suits as standard equipment. Space fortresses are spread throughout the star system, and each fortress has a large fleet deployed. If I lead the entire Galagon group, I may be able to break through. Instead, it is clear that Galagon will also suffer damage close to annihilation. In that case, it would be better to lure Akira somewhere other than the solar system. The problem is how to entice them. He was defeated by me several times in the game, and was defeated once in real life. If you try to use a foolish inducement, it will only increase your vigilance. It would be better to gather information related to Akira and then make a plan to bring it out. Come to think of it, Shino Group's ranker might know something. Cartels named Sino are supported by the great powers. If you are a ranker who leads a group, there is a high possibility that you are also acquainted with the CEO of Megacorp. There are more reasons to eat pirates. Their heads became necessary to collect information. Anyway, I decided to think about what I saw in the fantasy and what to do next. Whatever it is, it's something that can be resolved after hunting Arcane Orca. How then? It is time to check out the newly acquired unique characteristics and changes in the body. I wiped the mucus from around my eyes with my arm and then opened my eyes. As soon as you open your eyes, you see white wing arms instead of a reddish-black carapace. All tentacles created by the hive former effect were colored a dull white. The same was true for the carapace inside the tentacles. What? It's not just the color that has changed. The eye level is much lower than before entering the cocoon. The overall size of the body has decreased significantly. The length from the tip of the middle head to the tip of the tail decreased to approximately 30 meters. In addition, its 2 tails and 3 necks took up a large proportion, so its body length was less than 10 meters. This is my first time being this small. To take a closer look, I stretched my arms and slightly raised my body. When I stretched out my folded arms, I saw that they were much longer than I expected. It seems like each arm has an additional joint. Thanks to this, the length of the originally long wing arms exceeded 10 meters. The part that functioned as a leg before entering the cocoon also changed into the same shape as a fighting arm. In contrast to the thin and long arms, the torso is short and thick. The back and carapace were abnormally swollen in order to store body organs related to such characteristics as tentacles and limbs. Longer arms, still long and large neck and tail, and a relatively short and thick body compared to that. It has a body shape similar to that of a snow crab or a tarantula. It seems similar to an octopus. The sight of tentacles similar to the color of fog fluttering all over the body was reminiscent of marine monsters that appear in horror novels. Open corner bracket grr. Open corner bracket grr. Belatedly, both heads also woke up. What? The moment the 2 heads raised their necks with a low growl, something strange caught my eye. Only the areas submerged in black mucus were stained black. The tentacles covered in black light continued to shake even if they were not conscious of it. As if trying to imitate the appearance of liquid accumulating in a nest. Is this the effect of this trait? After a while, the entire body changed to resemble the discolored area. It was such a perfect camouflage that I couldn't recognize it even though it was my own body. That's not all. I lifted my arm and waved it around. The tentacles delicately swayed in sync with the movement, maintaining camouflage. It's not just about hiding. There are many types of characteristics that change the color of the body and camouflage it as an object. However, this is the first time I have seen a case where it is maintained even when moving the body as it is now. The hiding effect was so excellent that it even mimicked the shaking of the water surface. It's definitely a unique trait. The effect of maintaining camouflage while moving is a pretty good feature. It can be much more useful if combined with an attribute like dark shroud. But I felt a little disappointed. The unique characteristics created using the Transcendence system all showed unprecedented power. This camouflage ability is impressive enough, but compared to the characteristics previously obtained, it is boring. There are pros and cons to the reduced size, so I'll skip it. Isn't there anything else besides this? I haven't checked the text box yet. I was trying to check if there were any additional effects that I didn't know about, when I suddenly heard the sound of water. MPS-03 is approaching. Eventually, he stopped in front of my arm. Cocoon. Doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Even the mini screamer, which had replaced its eyes with a camera, did not recognize me right in front of it. Search. Necessary. It looked around for a moment and then started climbing my arm with its metal legs. It seems like they want to go up high and check it out. How do I unlock this? Like the protective color trait, it is not a trait that can be released by moving. I focused my senses on the moving bundle of tentacles. Consciousness unfolds in an instant like a net thrown over the surface of the water. The moment the tip of the mentally woven spider web touched the tentacle, it turned white again and my stomach relaxed. Aim off. Discovery. Discovery. MPS-03, which was climbing above me, was startled. I caught the mini screamer that was about to fall and placed it on the nest. End of growth. Size. Reduced. Yes, but I gained new powers instead. Camouflage. Interesting. The principle is unknown. It nudged the tentacle with its metal leg. Some of the tentacles reacted, turning chrome and then returning to their original state. Are you here to check if the cocoon has awakened? Positive. Middle baby. Port. Waiting. It seems that the Mother of Heaven has already arrived here. You came earlier than I thought. Before entering the cocoon, I told PS-111 to call Heavenly Mother here. Still, I didn't expect it to come so quickly. I need to check something for a moment. I'll be there in a bit. Check. I sent him first and checked the text box. Open corner bracket scary mimic. A wise predator knows how to take advantage of its prey. Gains an always-on camouflage effect. You can use the metamorphosis organ to transform your body by taking advantage of powerful prey. Metamorphosis organ Create a new part or organ by renalizing the marks left behind by powerful prey. Up to 2 tokens can be targeted. You must wait 30 days to change the applied certificate to another certificate. Caution. Once a certificate has been reanalyzed, it cannot be reanalyzed. Asterisk PS. Selection and adaptation. It's another name for evolution. A text box that instantly caught my attention. After reading what was written there, I could only nod my head. It can't end so boringly. The unique characteristics created using the Transcendence system always surprised me with their unconventional effects. This time too, there was no exception. Watch next episode. C419. A ghastly imitator, created by combining characteristics that only have negative effects. Looking at the text box, this trait has 2 main abilities. One is camouflage ability. The tentacles that grow throughout the body can change their position, shape, and coloring to mimic the shapes of surrounding objects. The level of camouflage is quite high. Even the mini screamer MPS-03 doesn't know I'm in front of it. It's also a big advantage that the transformation is maintained when moving. It can be useful when surprising an enemy or luring them into a trap. If the same holds true in outer space, it would be possible to disguise yourself as a block of rock or stick to a rock and hit the enemy from behind. I'll check this later. First of all, the camouflage ability using tentacles is a kind of side effect. Like Nightmare Horizon, which provides eroding tentacles that can be used as weapons. The true power of the eerie imitator lies elsewhere. It is the transformation organ. The explanation says that you can create new body parts or organs by taking advantage of powerful prey. In my entire text box, there is only one case where the expression, mighty prey, is included. A badge of a powerful enemy created by robbing the player of his perks. The macabre mimicry is related to this. How will it be applied? Either create an organization that has effects similar to those of a powerful enemy, or create an organization with new abilities. It would be good to do it the former way, but in the latter case, the story is slightly different. An organization that is more powerful than the privilege may emerge, or conversely, unhelpful results may emerge. According to the text box, the token characteristics applied to the Metamorphosis institution cannot be replaced for 30 days. This means that even if you get useless results, you should use it for at least a month. No matter what it is, you'll have to experiment to know for sure. Currently, I have a total of 5 strong enemy badge characteristics. These are Plunder's Irregular Polyhedron, Color of the Abyss, Shape Ruler, Starlight Coordinates, and Hydra Split. For now, let's try the Color of the Abyss later. Since it is high risk and high return, I don't think it would be appropriate for the first attempt. I looked at the remaining 4, excluding the Color of the Abyss. Shall we use the Shape Ruler for experimentation? The Shape Master has the effect of reinforcing traits that affect the thinking of sapient races. Since it is a feature that is always applied even if it is not activated separately, its presence is relatively weak. Instead, it seems to have fewer side effects, so let's take this. Open corner bracket. The form ruler was set as the target of the transformation organ. After completing the reanalysis, we move on to transformation and application. When I chose the characteristics to apply to the Metamorphosis organization, a short message came to mind. Perhaps because it was the reanalysis stage, I did not feel any changes in my body. But after a while, the center's head felt slightly itchy. Even if I scratched it with a sharp fingernail, the itching did not go away. Transformation by the Metamorphosis organ has begun. It happens in the head. Specifically, itching was felt in the 2 larger horns on the head. It seemed like something was about to change in the horn. As expected, the existing horn split and a new horn grew inside. When I detected it with an auxiliary organ under the chin, the structure was quite unique. It was a structure in which several horns were intertwined in a spiral shape to form a single body. Open corner bracket ger. Open corner bracket ger. Subsequently, similar mutations occurred on the left and right sides of the head. The object was the horns that sprouted where the eyes should have been. When the transformation was completed, a new text box appeared. Transformed part. Scent of the shape ruler unspecified. Scent of the shape. There was only the name of the newly born, or rather improved, horn written there, and no other explanation at all. Looking at its complex structure, it seems like it has special abilities. There may be a reaction if you use a trait that receives the Shape Master's buff effect. I used a mimicry machine that I usually like to use. Chemical substances that disturb the senses of sapient beings are released from microscopic holes in the outer shell. When the mimicry organ was activated, the scent of the image also responded immediately. The entangled and twisted horns were unraveled and spread upward. The appearance of the multi-branched horns reminded me of the branches of an old tree. And an invisible chemical substance was secreted from the small holes in the spread horn. It felt like an auxiliary organ, similar to but slightly different from the material made by the mimicry organ. Is this a substance that enhances the mimicry effect? I myself am not affected by the mimicry system, so I don't know how it applies. I got up and walked over to the pirate I captured before entering the cocoon. Get up. Ventress, the pirate captain who had been unconscious while being caught in the slime, looked up in surprise. As soon as he saw where I was standing, he started shaking like crazy. You guys, what? I understand that they are scared when they see me, but their expression is a bit strange. I lowered my posture and brought my head closer to him. Please help me. I don't want to die, please. Quiet. Quote. How old do I look? Its eyes move frantically between its 3 heads. 3. It looks like 3. 3. Yes. My 3 dead subordinates are moving in the same way. Regardless of my size or appearance, the camouflage effect of the mimicry organ is limited to only one intelligent body. This is because when the mimicry organ produces chemicals that disrupt the senses, it uses the genetic information of an intelligent body as the material. It may be possible to replace the genetic information, but it is impossible to imitate all 3 at the same time. But the shape's angle of orientation eliminates that shortcoming. The substances secreted by the scent glands of the shape produce the same effect as the mimicry organs. This is probably why Ventress looked at me and said there were 3 humans. It's a mimicry of the majority. Are you okay? It is not without weaknesses, but they can be overcome by using other characteristics together. The first attempt is a success. Up to 2 token characteristics can be designated as a metamorphosis organ. There is still one more thing left to specify. I'll think about the remaining one a little more before deciding. Now that I've seen how it's applied, I think I'll have to think more about the rest before deciding. Or, it might be a good idea to leave it behind in case you need it. After finishing the experiment, I immediately left the nest. In a city where rain is pouring down, hiveformers wearing human skin can be seen walking around. You said it was a port, right? Heavenly Mother, who came earlier than scheduled, is waiting for me at the port. I stretched out my wing arms. The skin folded inside my arms stretched out stiffly, and my body soared upward in an instant. Even though the body structure changed, there were no problems with flight. I flapped my big wings and flew towards the harbor. We arrived at the port in an instant through the rain clouds. I landed on the runway that my clones had destroyed. Where do you want to be? While walking along Halju Ro, immersed in the sound of rain, I felt the movement of a small object in the distance. It was clearly the Mother of Heaven, as she was quickly approaching this way. But her reaction was strange. He was wearing obsidian arms, a reinforced suit exclusively for Wolf, and was holding the priest's golden spear. It was a clear battle stance. Could it be that there are still remnants of pirates left? The moment she thought that, she threw the spear. The spear became a ray of light and flew down to the right side of my head. Open corner bracket die. Open corner bracket gur. Wait. Griffin Wolf, who was about to continue his follow-up attack, stops when he hears my voice. Open corner bracket that voice. Is it a morph? Vivid amber eyes wander confusedly through my head. Only then did I realize that she was under the influence of the sense of form and the organ of mimicry. I immediately stopped looking at the image. The horns that had stretched out like branches returned to their original spiral horn shape. The Heavenly Mother, free from the influence of the disturbing substance, opened her eyes wide when she saw me. What was that just now? That's what I'm saying. Why did you attack me? Pirates wearing reinforced suits are running this way. So, stay still. It wasn't really wrong. Since they saw me without knowing the mimicry organ strengthened by the scent of the shape, it was easy to misunderstand. However, even so, it was strange that they immediately launched an attack. The same goes for my current harsh attitude. It was not like her who usually shows a calm demeanor. She seemed to know that her attitude was different from usual, and she sighed softly. Sorry. I guess I acted too hastily. Is your head okay? I used my wing arm to pull out the golden javelin stuck in the right side of my head. Is it because it contains a lot of blood? It got stuck pretty deep. Still, thanks to the thick carapace, the injury itself was not serious. It is a wound that can be fully recovered through regenerative abilities. I'm fine, but why did you just do that? What's going on? That's it. Please follow me for a moment. Heavenly Mother took the spear from me, took it away, and ran off to somewhere. We followed them and arrived at a small warehouse located on the outskirts of the port. Despite its ordinary appearance, the closer I got, the more a strange smell stimulated my auxiliary organs. As soon as I went inside, I knew why it smelled like that. 10 young wolves are lying on medical beds on the warehouse floor. They were all skinny and their entire bodies were covered in scars. The condition was so bad that it could be said that he was just breathing. There were medical equipment next to the beds. The identity of the strange smell was the treatment solution being injected into wolf. Who are these? Survivor of the wolf tribe in U08. Survivor. It has the nuance that someone suddenly attacked. Now that I think about it, MPS-03 did that to me. The Mother of Heaven came here earlier than expected. She read my thoughts and nodded. Before I arrived, the Shino group cartel came and went to U08. There too. Huh. He seems like someone who knows how to track down Arcane Orca, the ranker who leads those damn pirates. It was not the Heavenly Mother who first came up with the method to track the Arcane Orca. It was something she learned while working as a mercenary in a tracking group where she first tried this method. Didn't you say last time that the Arcane Orca tracking party was quickly destroyed? That's right. It went bankrupt not long after it was created, and all the clan members quit. Then there is a high possibility that the guy who joined as a mercenary like you is a ranker of the Shino group. There are a few people who have an idea about that, but I'm not sure. I looked down at the wolves lying on the bed. I think I know why she brought the survivors. Because I was the one who was attacked. I might have some useful information. I have the means to restore the dying wolves. I think we should save them first and then listen to the details. Watch next episode. C420. Wolf Thane, the jackal of the Salt Forest tribe, loved the mythology of the old gods. The story of a heavenly horse running across the Milky Way, the legend of an eagle who became the sun in place of the lost light, etc. My heart always beats every time I hear the stories of our ancestors who traveled between the stars and commanded the universe. Every time I heard legends and myths, I felt closer to my ancestors. So, he was interested in the myths handed down not only from his own tribe but also from other tribes. We collected all the stories floating around in the land where she was born and raised. Is it because of that passion? Despite his young age, Tane became the wisest wolf in the tribe, next to the chieftain. The tribe members called her Little Sage. If Tane were older, he would have become the leader of the tribe. But the day they came down from the sky, everything changed. The village where I was born and have lived until now is burning. There were charred corpses scattered on the floor. Fire, blood, and screams engulfed young Wolf's hometown. They were in a place full of death. Steel demons that came down from the sky. The moment he remembered their laughter, Tane woke up. The first thing I saw after opening my eyes was darkness. This place. A small murmur resonates loudly. It felt like I was in a cave-like space. The air was full of moisture and had a strangely unpleasant smell. At that time, the sound of rushing water was heard from afar. Surprised, Tane looked at the dark curtain. She couldn't see anything, but she could feel it. That there is a very large and scary being here. The sound of water splitting is heard as if a large animal is crossing the lake. Tane quickly tried to hide himself. URG. But no matter how hard I tried, my body wouldn't move. This was because something like heavy mud was tightly binding her arms and legs. Even as she struggled, the being got closer and closer. At that time, I was overwhelmed with fear that felt like my heart would stop. In the middle of the black curtain, 2 amber-colored lanterns lit up. Wait for a sec. Along with that, a refreshing voice seeped into Tane's head. Is it okay if I ask? Surprisingly, as soon as the mysterious voice was heard, the overwhelming presence slowly dissipated. The thing in the dark had retreated. As the terrifying presence disappears, the flames slowly get closer. When the size of the flame grew larger than Tane's palm, a bright light burst out from below. As light drove out the darkness, the true nature of the amber flame was revealed. What was there was a huge beast with a noble appearance. The beast with a white hawk's head and warm amber eyes was looking down at her. At that moment, Tane remembered. The one who saved her from dying after being crushed by a collapsed house. Open corner bracket. You were the first to wake up. Quote ellipsis dot quote. Open corner bracket. I have something to ask, is it okay? A being who seems to embody the image of an ancestor from myth asks her. Yes. God. Of course, Tane's answer was predetermined. I see. Do you need further explanation? I shook my head as I heard PS-111's words coming from the communicator. No, this is enough. All right. Then I will keep watch in case an intruder comes in. While Heavenly Mother was talking to the wolves, I was listening to PS-111. What happened where she went to investigate? The wolf tribes of U-08 are annihilated, and the tribal leader and old wolf are kidnapped. When Heavenly Mother arrived, the whole situation had already ended. The entire village she knew was reduced to ashes. The only survivors are the 10 wolves she brought with her. In addition, all stone tablets and relics recording the tribe's history were lost. In particular, it is said that the ruins were so thoroughly destroyed that no one could recognize them. Are they getting rid of all the things necessary for tracking? The fact that Shino Group is preparing to hunt arcane orca is an established fact. However, even so, there is no need to erase various traces that help with tracking. And yet it comes out like this. Perhaps it was intended to keep Heaven's Mother, or more accurately, me, in check. There are very few players who were active in the arcane orca tracking group. There were even fewer people who participated as mercenaries. When the Mother of Heaven learned that Shino's leader had been working as a mercenary, she vaguely guessed his identity. This will be the same for your opponent as well. The fact that I and Heavenly Mother are together was already exposed when I fought Akira Yujin last time. The ranker who leads the Shino group must have also heard about this. In that case, it would be natural to think that I would have figured out a tracking method by force. Well, there's nothing wrong with it except for coercion. In fact, I came this far thanks to her help. If it had been a little later, tracking it would have been much more difficult. Should I call this a phone call? While I was thinking like that, Heavenly Mother approached me. Not everyone woke up, so I asked the children who came to their senses first. Still, I think I heard everything I needed to say. Really, I know who did it. Do you know the space dog player who only sticks to melee weapons? In space survival, melee weapons don't get a very good reputation. This is bound to happen in a world where laser and plasma weapons are rampant, and where thousands of spaceships are mobilized in a single war. Still, there are quite a few enthusiasts. In other media dealing with science fiction, you can often see characters using melee weapons. The same goes for space survival. There are players who favor weapons such as the sonic blade or the cult's psychic sword. A pirate who mainly uses melee weapons. As I listen to the story, a few people come to mind. Among them, if you are a ranker. Was it 25th? A ranker who is a pirate and mainly uses melee weapons and bombs. That's right. Have you ever fought? We fought twice right before we folded. Despite only using unusual weapons, his combat skills were surprisingly poor. Instead, I don't know if it was to compliment this, but I remember that the equipment used was very excellent. The surviving child said he saw a steel giant holding very large dual swords. I heard he commanded other giants. If it were a set of very large dual swords, it would be Colossus Shot, or Sacred Fang. If you're a steel giant, do you mean a reinforced suit? No. They said it's as tall as a tree, so it's probably a walker. You might be wondering if it's a reinforced suit, but a walker and a melee weapon are not a good combination. However, considering that they insisted on using melee weapons, it is highly likely that the opponent is ranked 25th. The 25th person has experience participating in the arcane orca tracking team. I was kicked out not long after I entered. Kicked out. He was notorious for only being friendly with powerful people. Ignore those who are weaker than you. So the clan leader kicked him out. I thought it was somehow strange. I think I understand how he acquired good equipment with mediocre skills. He probably got it by taking advantage of his friendship with top rankers. Also, the fact that pirates possess many advanced weapons from Megacorp and Star Union may have something to do with it. It makes perfect sense if you consider that it was achieved by taking advantage of a good relationship in the game. Good. Who are the other rankers besides him? What did the wolves say? I asked, but there was no one other than 25th who was presumed to be a ranker. Even those kids don't know who is outside the planet. I raised my head and looked at where the wolves were. I think it would be a good idea to plant parasites and check. Since the scent of shape was obtained, the parasite must have been strengthened in some way. It wouldn't be a bad idea to gain information and experiment with newly enhanced parasites. Or how many people are called Inyanchang? Wait, Inyanchang. Now that I think about it, I have people from the ruling faction and the returning faction. I'll have to call Jason and Alshaz and ask them again. Come out. The companions within the body respond to my call. A monster with a body that looked like a combination of a praying mantis and a wasp and the face of a cult tore through the mucous membrane and jumped out. Sky's mother frowned slightly when she saw that open corner bracket in my Yancheng. To ask about number 25. Yes. Immediately after, Jason and Alcius's face fell down in front of us and bowed their heads. Did you call me? Did you call me? Do any of you know anything about number 25? Not in games, but in this world. Alcius answered my question first. I don't know because I've never seen it. You've never seen it. We, the returning faction, failed to secure influence in Megacorp and Star Union. That's why I used spy. You mean Cynthia. It's definitely not wrong. As he said, the return faction has a history of forcibly recruiting weak rankers through Cynthia. He probably carried out espionage activities against the ruling faction, which was a hostile force, on several occasions. Cynthia. Why all of a sudden? That bitch was a spy. You stupid bastard. Yes. Heavenly Mother, who still did not like Jason, let out a wave of thoughts filled with evil emotions. The guy with a puzzled look on his face soon understood what I meant and opened his eyes wide. Fuck. Alcius, how dare you whore. The perverted bastard saw someone and called her a prostitute. On the subject of fucking anyone. I will definitely tear you to death. Damn. This is the one. You two, shut up. At my command, the human beings all fell silent. I didn't bring these two out to hear useless chatter. I understand that you are not a member of the returnee faction. Jason, don't you have anything to say? I don't know. Sorry. Number 25 is a pirate and possesses a lot of high-end equipment from Megacorp and Star Union. It's obvious that they are closely connected to the rankers, but you don't know. When Heaven's Mother sharply pointed out, Jason quickly lowered his head. Well, our ruling faction is made up of a few people who know each other, so there are a lot of things we don't know about each other. Okay. If you don't know, you can't do it. Wait a minute. There was a space dog ranker working with Akira and Chewbacca. As I was about to put it back in my body, Jason added quickly. This guy received a request from the two and worked to bring them the necessary items. Well, now that I think about it again, I think he was ranked 25th. I'm sure. The bastard who had become a human being tried to squeeze out memories as if he didn't want to enter my body. Why didn't you tell me when I asked you before? Well, it's been a while since I've had any contact with that guy. I asked Chewbacca, and he said he had not heard from him for a long time either. So I guess he's already dead. Jason says, trembling. It seemed like he was afraid that he would get angry for saying something important now. However, I had no intention of punishing him. This is because I know that this is the limitation of Inyanchang. Even if I eat someone and make them human, that person's memories do not become completely mine. Inyanchang only remembers what the original considers important or what it experienced before it died. The rest we remember inaccurately or forget altogether. Just like now. He didn't lie. Even when I was alive, I didn't consider 25th place important, so I couldn't think of it properly. Other than the CEO of Megacorp and the leader of Star Union. As far as I know, none. What are his perks? Well, I don't know because I've never seen it, but according to Chewbacca, he's very good at handling Yule-class weapons. So, I heard that you have been given several requests to test new weapons. It is the ability to use a unique weapon. When you just listen, it's a fairly boring skill. I think it depends on the weapon's range. And depending on how it is applied, it can be a very scary perk. I need to be careful about this part. What are the other characteristics? That's all I know. Good. If you have anything else to ask, please call me. Yes. Now, wait a minute. See, I hate it. That hell. Since I had nothing more to ask, I retrieved the human face bugs. What do you think about it? First of all, I don't think the Grand Leader will come here. I think the same as her. Everything in Star Union revolves around the Grand Leader and the Machine Committee. It is unlikely that the Great Leader will bring out his troops just to hunt. Looking at the mobilization of a lot of Star Union equipment, I think the top committee members were deployed instead of the Grand Leader. That's right. If you are a member of the Supreme Council, you will be applying from outside the planet, so those children will not know. The Mother of Heaven scratching her beak with serious eyes. She asked. Then how will Akira get out? He won't come here. Why? Is it because of the defeat in the last battle? It's not wrong, but the reason I'm convinced is slightly different. When I entered the cocoon, I saw a vision. A fantasy about an ending mission that happened in the past. What? I heard it from someone I met there. There is a ranker on Earth who knows the secret of the ending.
So meet him. As if the words were completely unexpected, the Mother of Heaven's eyes widened. I saw that Akira participated in the ending mission. He must be the one who knows the secret of the ending. Tell me more about it. I was planning to talk to her when I met her, but it just happened to work out. I began to explain what the illusion and information body had said. Watch next episode.